Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So in this video we are going to see what if Naruto was the reincarnation of Frieza, and this will be very interesting video, so watch till end because I have divided this video into 6 chapters. So yeah, let's get in the video, and before that please make sure to give a like, share and subscribe. So now let's jump right back into the video.
Chapter 1. The Purple Seal Tagline. A tyrant is born into Orange story phase. Origin. The night Naruto Uzumaki was born, the world expected a demon. It expected teeth, claws, and hatred. It expected the 9 tails. That was the story every shinobi in the Hidden Leaf would tell themselves for years afterward. They would say the sky burned red, the moon watched in silence, and the greatest beast in the world descended upon Konoha with nothing in its heart except destruction. They would remember the screams. They would remember the shaking rooftops, the broken walls, the shadows of tails sweeping across the village like judgment. But the truth was colder than that. The 9 tails was not the strangest thing that entered the world that night. The beast was only the door. And Minato Namikaze, fourth Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, was the man who opened it. The delivery chamber had already become a battlefield. Kushina Uzumaki lay weak on the stone platform, red hair spread around her like spilled flame. Her breathing was sharp and uneven, each breath carrying pain, exhaustion, and the desperate strength of a mother who refused to let go. Beside her, Baiwako Sarutobi held the newborn close, whispering soothing words that died halfway in her throat. Because the baby was silent, newborn children cried. They screamed. They kicked. They wailed at the shock of air entering their lungs and the cruelty of being pulled into the world. Naruto did none of those things. He simply opened his eyes. They were not blue, they were pale violet, not bright, not gentle, not the color of flowers or morning skies. They were the color of deep space where no sun had ever reached. Baiwako froze. For one impossible second, the sounds of the room faded. The shaking stone, Kushina's strained breathing, the distant roar of the 9 tails outside, even Minato's voice as he prepared the sealing ritual, all of it became small. The infant looked at her, not with confusion, not with fear, with assessment. Baiwako Sarutobi had lived through wars. She had seen children become soldiers and soldiers become names carved into stone. She had stood beside Hokage, held dying shinobi, and watched entire clans swallow grief with a bow because the village demanded strength. But she had never felt anything like the pressure behind those eyes. It was not killing intent. Killing intent belonged to shinobi. It was emotional, it was personal. It came from anger, fear, desperation, pride. This was different. This was the sensation of standing before something that did not hate you, because hatred would require seeing you as important enough to dislike. Her arms trembled. The baby's small fingers curled once against the blanket. Baiwako almost dropped him. Outside, the 9 tails roared again, and reality returned with violent force. Minato turned, face pale beneath streaks of blood and dirt. His golden hair clung to his forehead. His Hokage cloak was torn. The man who had once seemed faster than thought itself looked older than he had that morning. "Kushina," he said, voice tight, "we have to begin." Kushina forced her eyes open. She looked first at Minato, then at the child. The moment she saw Naruto's eyes, something in her expression faltered. Not love, never love. The love was already there, fierce and immediate and absolute. But beneath it, beneath the exhaustion and fear, a thread of confusion passed through her gaze. "Naruto," she whispered. The baby turned his head slightly toward her voice for a heartbeat. The violet eyes softened, only a little. Only enough that someone watching very closely might have wondered whether a newborn could recognize his mother. Then the softness vanished. Minato noticed. He said nothing. There was no time. The 9 tails had already been restrained by Kushina's chakra chains, but even weakened, even impaled by sealing stakes, even dragged down by the last will of a dying Uzumaki, the beast was still a force of nature. Its chakra churned through the chamber like a storm pressing against glass. Minato had made his choice. He would divide the beast, seal half within himself, seal half within his son. Use the Reaper Death Seal to create a binding strong enough to hold the impossible. A father should never have had to decide such a thing. A Hawkage did. He stepped into the center of the ritual circle, symbols spread beneath his feet, black ink crawling across stone in perfect spirals. The air thickened, candles guttered. The temperature dropped sharply enough that Baiwako's breath became visible. Kushina's chains pulled the 9 tails closer. The beast snarled. "Minato," Kushina cried, already knowing what he intended. He did not look away from her. "I'm sorry." The apology was not enough. It could never be enough. Still, Kushina understood. That was the cruelty of it. She understood too well. Minato formed the hand signs. The world held its breath. Shiki Fujin. A presence entered the room, not like a summoning, not like a spirit, like a law being enforced. Behind Minato, the spectral shape of the death god rose, pale and terrible, blade clenched between its teeth. Its arrival pressed even the 9 tails into a moment of wary silence. The chamber bent around it. Shadows stretched. The symbols on the floor burned with cold light. Minato reached toward the 9 tails chakra. He intended to pull, to divide, to bind. But the moment the Reaper's hand touched the beast, something went wrong. The seal did not bite into the 9 tails as it should have. Instead, the ritual circle shuddered. The ink turned purple. Minato's eyes widened. That color did not belong to any Uzumaki formula. The air split, not physically. Not like torn paper or broken glass. Reality itself thinned above the altar, and beyond it was not the Pure Land. It was not death. It was not the place where souls waited, nor the place where demons were chained. It was somewhere colder, a place between endings. A place where broken echoes drifted after being denied proper death. And in that place, something opened its eyes. It had once been an emperor. It had once ruled planets with a smile. It had once destroyed worlds because they were inconvenient, sold civilizations because they were profitable, and crushed warriors because their pride amused it. It remembered a green planet. It remembered rage. It remembered a golden warrior. It remembered fear so bright it became hatred. Then nothing, not death. Not peace, only drifting, a fragment of a mind too arrogant to fade, too cruel to rest, too stubborn to accept that the universe had continued without permission. For years beyond counting, that fragment had wandered the cracks between worlds. It had no body, no empire. No soldiers, no throne, only memory, only contempt. Only the certainty that existence had made an error by surviving it. Then the seal called, not by name, not by intention, but by shape. The Reaper Death Seal sought a soul powerful enough to anchor a monster. The 9 tails was there. But the seal had brushed something beyond it, something denser, older in cruelty if not in years. A consciousness sharpened by conquest and held together by pride alone, the fragment smiled without a mouth. At last it thought. A vessel. Minato felt the wrongness immediately. The chakra he had expected to seize was hot, wild, and vast. This was not chakra, this was pressure, cold, polished, merciless pressure. It poured through the tear like starlight turned poisonous. The 9 tails recoiled. That was the first sign. The strongest tailed beast, the terror of nations, drew back from the opening as though even it recognized an enemy that did not belong to this world. "Minato!" Kushina screamed. He tried to correct the seal. His hands moved faster than sight, altering formula after formula, rerouting the ritual, trying to close the breach before whatever lay beyond could fully enter. Too late. The purple energy struck the ceiling array. The floor cracked. Baiwako stumbled backward, clutching Naruto tighter. The infant did not cry. He watched the tear in reality with calm attention. The foreign soul fragment descended. It did not rush. It did not thrash. It entered like royalty accepting an invitation. The Reaper's skeletal hand closed around it, but the moment it did, the death god paused. Even the divine mechanism of sacrifice seemed uncertain. This was not what had been summoned. This was not what had been promised. Minato shouted and drove the seal forward anyway. There was no other choice. If he stopped, the 9 tails would break free. If he hesitated, Kushina would die for nothing. If he failed, Konoha would become memory. The seal struck Naruto. The baby's body arched once. His violet eyes flashed. For the first time since birth, Naruto made a sound. Not a scream, a laugh. Small, soft. Barely audible, but it was a laugh. Kushina went still. Minato's heart nearly broke. The seal completed. Black markings spread across Naruto's stomach, spiraling inward. But they did not settle into the familiar pattern Minato had designed. The lines twisted, corrected themselves, then deepened into a shape that looked almost like a crown wrapped around a prison. The Nine Tails chakra recoiled to the edge of the formula, locked behind layers of containment. But the other presence did not settle behind bars. It seeped through Naruto's pathways, into blood, into bone, into breath. The infant's chakra network, still forming, still soft, still human, tightened violently around the invading power. Pathways compressed. Nodes collapsed and reforged. What should have been a flowing system became a single ruthless circuit, narrow and direct, designed not for versatility, not for healing, not for transformation or illusion, designed for output, designed for destruction. Minato saw it with the last flicker of sensory awareness he had left. His son's chakra had been colonized. The word came to him without explanation. Colonized, not consumed, not destroyed, reorganized under foreign rule. Naruto, Minato whispered. The death god's blade descended. The cost came due. Minato felt his soul begin to tear away. Pain bloomed through him, enormous and distant. His body faltered. His knees struck stone. He used the last of his strength to place a secondary message inside the seal, a memory of himself, a father's voice preserved for a future he would not see, a few words, a little guidance, an apology, a hope. Inside the newborn mindscape, something watched the message being buried. It was not Naruto, not fully, not yet. The foreign consciousness drifted through the new prison like a king inspecting a temporary residence. So the echo thought, studying Minato's dying message with cold amusement. A dead man leaves sentiment for a future ruler, how provincial. Outside, Kushina dragged herself forward. Every movement hurt, every breath burned. Her life was already leaving her, but she reached for Naruto anyway. Baiwako placed the child near her with shaking hands. Kushina touched her son's cheek. This time the baby looked at her, really looked, and beneath the violet coldness something flickered again, a newborn instinct, perhaps, recognition, warmth, need. Kushina smiled through tears. "My little Naruto," she whispered, "don't become lonely, eat well. Sleep well. Find people who love you, and please," her fingers trembled, "please grow up kind." The foreign presence inside Naruto recoiled from the word, kind, a weak word, a servant word, a word used by people who had no power and wanted mercy from those who did, but the baby's body listened. The baby's heart, tiny and stubborn, beat faster beneath Kushina's hand. For one strange moment, the Emperor's contempt and the child's warmth existed in the same breath. Minato collapsed beside them. Kushina's eyes moved to him. They did not have enough time for everything that needed to be said. So they said nothing. They simply looked at each other, then at their son. Outside, the Nine Tails' roar vanished. The village fell into a stunned, broken silence. The fourth Hokage died with his hand near Naruto's blanket. Kushina Uzumaki died with a smile that tried to be brave. And Naruto Uzumaki, 3 minutes old, stared at the ceiling with violet eyes while two ghosts began arguing over what he was meant to become. By dawn, Konoha had already started lying to itself. The village needed a story. People always did after disaster. A monster had attacked. The fourth Hokage had saved them. His son had become the container, simple, clean, useful. But the people who stood closest to the truth knew better. Hiruzen Sarutobi arrived before sunrise, walking through smoke and ash with the weight of age pressing heavily on his shoulders. He had already seen too many bodies covered with cloth, too many children crying for parents who would never answer, too many shinobi standing perfectly still because if they moved, grief would break them open. He found the infant under guard, not protected, guarded. That detail chilled him before he even entered the room. There were 6 Anbu present, all masked, all elite. all positioned as if facing an enemy rather than watching over the child of their fallen Hokage. The baby lay in a crib at the center of a sealed chamber. Awake, silent. Hiruzen approached slowly. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air changed. It was subtle at first, a pressure at the base of the skull, a tightening in the lungs. The strange sensation that every instinct in the body had suddenly remembered how small humans were. Hiruzen stopped. The baby turned his head, violet eyes met his. For the first time in decades, the third Hokage had to force himself not to step back. He had faced the first Shinobi War. The second. The third, he had trained the Sannin. He had fought monsters wearing human faces and humans who had made themselves into monsters. He knew killing intent in every form. This was not killing intent. This was evaluation. Hiruzen felt, absurdly, like a document being reviewed for errors. The infant blinked once. An Anbu beside the crib whispered, "Lord Third, the seal is unstable." Hiruzen did not look away from Naruto. "Explain." The Anbu swallowed. "The Nine Tails chakra is present but buried, suppressed. Something else is layered over it. Something else, we don't have a name for it." A second Anbu stepped forward, carrying a scroll covered in diagnostic markings. His hands were too steady. That meant he was afraid and hiding it well. "We attempted a standard chakra reading. The instruments failed. We tried medical detection. The readings inverted." Sensory personnel reported the same impression. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. "Which is?" The Anbu hesitated. "That the child is not holding power, Lord Third. The power is holding him." The room went colder. Hiruzen looked down at Naruto again. The baby's small hand rested against the blanket. His fingers opened and closed with slow, deliberate control. Most newborns moved with random instinct. Naruto moved as if testing the idea of a body. "What did Minato do?" Hiruzen whispered. No one answered, because no one knew. Later that morning, the council gathered, not the full public council, not the civilian advisors, not the loud merchants or frightened clan representatives demanding reassurance. This meeting took place beneath the Hokage Tower, in a room without windows, where the walls had been sealed against listening jutsu older than most family lines. Hiruzen sat at the head of the table. Danzo Shimura sat in the shadows, visible enough to be noticed, hidden enough to make a point. Hamura and Koharu sat opposite each other, both pale, both sleepless. Several clan heads had been summoned in limited capacity. The Hyuga, because their eyes could see what ordinary sensors could not. The Nara, because someone needed to think clearly. The Yamanaka, because minds were involved. The Aburame, because their insects reacted to chakra without political bias. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Danzo said what everyone had been avoiding. The child should be destroyed. The word landed heavily. Hiruzen's pipe remained unlit between his fingers. He is Minato's son. He is a threat wearing Minato's son's skin. Hayashi Hyuga's expression remained controlled, but his fingers tightened slightly on the table. "My Byakugan saw the seal," he said. "The Nine Tails is present, but it is not dominant." Koharu leaned forward. "Then what is?" Hayashi was quiet for a moment. The closest comparison would be a star compressed into a needle. Shikaku Nara rubbed his face. "That is not comforting. It was not intended to be." A Yamanaka elder spoke next, voice low. "We attempted no mental contact. The child is too young for standard techniques, and after the sensory reports, I advised against it." Danzo's visible eye sharpened. "Fear has made you cautious." "No," the Yamanaka replied. "Experience has." A silence followed. Hiruzen finally spoke. "The child has done nothing." Danzo's mouth twisted. "The child exists, and that is not a crime. It is when existence alone endangers the village." Shikaku looked toward Hiruzen. "Lord Third, with respect, we need to separate emotion from strategy. Is the child dangerous? Yes. Can we predict how dangerous? No. Do we understand the seal? No. That gives us three choices." Hiruzen nodded once. "Say them." "First, kill him now and risk whatever happens when that seal breaks. Second, imprison him and guarantee that whatever is inside him grows up hating us. Third, raise him under observation and try to shape the person around the power before the power shapes him completely. Danzo scoffed. You speak as if this is merely an orphan with a difficult bloodline. No, Shikaku said. I speak as if this is a problem we cannot stab without potentially making it worse. That earned the faintest flicker of approval from Hiruzen. Hamura folded his hands. What of the public? The public will be told the same as planned, Hiruzen said. Naruto Uzumaki contains the 9 tails. Minato saved the village. Koharu's eyes narrowed. And the rest remains in this room. Danzo leaned forward. You would allow that thing to grow freely. I would allow a child to live. You are gambling with Konoha. Hiruzen's gaze hardened. No, Danzo, Minato gambled with Konoha. Kushina died for Konoha. That child paid a price before he had a name. We are now deciding whether we honor their sacrifice or spit on it because we are afraid. Danzo did not answer immediately. He did not need to. His silence was full of knives. In the end, the decision was made. Naruto would live. He would be watched. He would be isolated from sensitive knowledge. His abilities, whatever they became, would be recorded. The public would fear the 9 tails. The elders would fear something worse. And Hiruzen Sarutobi, tired beyond words, would carry one more secret in a life already built from them. 3 days later, Naruto Uzumaki lay alone in a small nursery room prepared under Anbu supervision. There were no bright toys, no painted walls, no soft music. Only a crib, seals hidden in the corners, and a single masked shinobi watching from the ceiling beams. The baby had not cried once since Kushina died. Doctors said it was abnormal. Nurses said it was unsettling. One young attendant, brave or foolish, had whispered that perhaps the child knew no one would come. The Anbu assigned to the night watch did not believe in ghosts, curses, or prophecies. He believed in blades, orders, and exits. Still, he found it difficult to look at the crib for too long. Near midnight, Naruto opened his eyes. The room was dark. The seal on his stomach pulsed once beneath the blanket. Inside him, the foreign presence stirred. It had no full body. Not yet. It had no empire. Not yet. It had no soldiers, no fleets, no worlds trembling beneath its name. Only a human infant's lungs, a human infant's hands, a human infant's fragile heart, disgusting, limiting, insulting. And yet, alive. The soul fragment that had once been Frieza stretched through Naruto's, forming mind like a shadow learning the shape of its cage. There were instincts here that did not belong to it. Hunger, warmth, the memory of a woman's hand against a cheek, the echo of a dying voice saying, "Grow up kind." Frieza hated them immediately. Weaknesses, he decided, biological noise, they would be corrected. But when he reached deeper, pushing against the infant consciousness, something pushed back, small, wordless, not strong, but stubborn. Naruto did not know language. He did not know villages, demons, fathers, mothers, or kings. He knew warmth had vanished. He knew voices had stopped. He knew the world was cold, and some part of him refused to become colder with it. The foreign presence paused. Interesting, in the crib, Naruto lifted one small hand. The Anbu above went still. A faint light appeared above the baby's palm, purple, no bigger than a marble. It did not flicker like flame. It did not move like chakra. It hovered with perfect stillness, casting violet shadows across the crib bars. The Anbu breath caught. Every seal in the room activated at once. Paper tags burned. Ink crawled across the walls. Suppression barriers layered over each other in desperate silence. The sphere remained. Naruto stared at it, not amazed, not afraid, studying. Then his tiny fingers curled. The sphere vanished. The seals died. The room returned to darkness. The Anbu did not move for a full minute. When he finally reported what he had seen, the message went directly to Hiruzen. By sunrise, 3 more restrictions were added to Naruto's file. By noon, Danzo requested custody. By evening, Hiruzen denied it. And in the quiet between those decisions, Naruto slept. Inside his seal, behind walls no shinobi fully understood, the 9 tails watched from a distance. Kurama had known hatred since the sage sons turned brotherhood into inheritance. He had known cages. He had known humans. He had known arrogance. But the thing coiled around the child's chakra was not like human arrogance. Humans wanted power because they feared being powerless. This thing assumed power was the natural order of existence and found all disagreement offensive. Kurama bared his teeth in the darkness. "You are not welcome here." The foreign presence turned its attention toward the fox. For a moment, the mindscape became colder. A shape suggested itself in the shadows, not complete, not stable. A pale figure with violet plates, red eyes, and a smile sharpened by extinction. "I have occupied better prisons." The presence replied, Kurama's tails lashed. "You think the brat is yours?" "I think," the presence said smoothly, "that everything is mine until proven otherwise." Kurama snarled. The presence smiled wider. Somewhere far above them, in the physical world, baby Naruto shifted in his sleep. His small hand closed around the blanket, not like a conqueror, like a child reaching for someone who was gone. For the first time since entering the vessel, the Emperor felt something he did not understand. Not fear, never fear. Something smaller, more irritating, a pull, a warmth, a refusal. He looked toward the sleeping core of Naruto's mind. The child glowed faintly, not purple, not gold, but orange, soft, annoying, persistent. Frieza's soul fragment regarded it with contempt, then with curiosity, then with the first hint of caution, because a beast could be sealed. A beast could be chained, named, hated, and used. But this was not a beast. This was a throne with two claimants, and one of them had just been born, Chapter 2. The Academy of Inferior's tagline, "Ninjutsu is beneath him and he makes certain everyone knows." Story phase. Escalation. By the time Naruto Uzumaki was old enough to walk, the hidden leaf had already learned to lower its voice around him. Not because he screamed. Not because he attacked people. Not because he behaved like the demon the villagers believed him to be. That would have been easier. A violent child could be punished. A loud child could be ignored. A lonely child could be pitied from a distance, hated in whispers, and turned into a symbol whenever adults needed something to blame. But Naruto was not loud. He was not wild. He was not desperate. He watched. That was what frightened people first. Children were supposed to grab, cry, stumble, demand attention, and chase after warmth even when the world denied it to them. Naruto did none of that. He sat alone in the orphanage courtyard and observed the other children like a prince studying an unfamiliar species. When someone pushed him, he did not push back. He turned. He looked. And somehow that was worse. The child who shoved him would suddenly remember something urgent elsewhere. A caretaker would call Naruto strange under her breath and then feel cold all afternoon. A visiting shinobi would glance at him, sense something wrong beneath the surface, and decide the report could wait until tomorrow. Naruto did not understand fear at first, not fully. He understood reactions. He understood that when he looked at people for long enough, they moved away. He understood that adults spoke about him when they thought he could not hear. He understood that children were cruel when protected by numbers and silent when alone. Most of all, he understood hierarchy. This understanding did not come from Konoha, it came from the voice beneath his thoughts. Not a voice with sound. Not always, more like pressure given meaning. A presence that rose whenever Naruto was insulted, whenever someone looked at him with disgust, whenever someone treated him as something less than human. Remember this, the presence would whisper from the cold purple spaces inside him. The weak insult what they cannot command. Naruto, at 5 years old, did not know what an emperor was. He did not know planets, armies, spaceships, or extinction. But he knew the voice spoke with certainty, and certainty was rare. Everything else in his life was contradiction. The village called him monster but gave him food. Adults hated him but told him to follow rules. The Hokage visited with a kind smile but always left through doors guarded by masked shinobi. People demanded he act normal but flinched when he entered the room. The voice did not contradict itself. The voice said power was truth. The voice said loneliness was not sadness. Loneliness was evidence that no one around you was worthy of standing beside you. That thought comforted Naruto. At least it tried to. But sometimes, late at night, when the apartment was silent and the lights outside the window blurred in the rain, Naruto would press his small hand against his own chest and feel something inside him ache. Not the seal, not the cold presence, something warmer. Something that did not want to be above everyone, something that wanted someone to sit beside him without fear. The presence hated that part of him. Naruto did not know what to call it, so he ignored it. By the time he entered the academy, ignoring it had become easy. The first day of class began with noise. Children filled the room in clusters, each one orbiting around familiar names, familiar clans, familiar friendships their parents had arranged before they were old enough to understand them. The Uchiha boy sat near the window, silent and sharp-eyed. The Hyuga girl sat with her hands folded carefully, trying to take up as little space as possible. The Nara boy looked half asleep before the lesson had even started. Naruto entered last. The room changed immediately, not dramatically. There was no scream, no thrown chair. No teacher slamming a hand on the desk, just a soft wave of silence. Conversations thinned, eyes shifted. Someone whispered, "That's him." Naruto heard it. Of course he heard it. He heard everything people said when they believed fear made them quiet. He paused at the doorway and looked over the room. Rows of children. Future shinobi, future weapons of the village, future bodies used by men in towers to move borders on maps. How small! Something inside him murmured. Naruto agreed. Iruka Umino stood at the front of the class with chalk in hand and tired patience in his eyes. He was younger then, still learning how to carry grief without letting it turn him cruel. When he saw Naruto, something tightened in his jaw. Naruto noticed. He always noticed. "Take a seat, Naruto." Iruka said, no insult, no softness either, acceptable. Naruto walked to the back row and sat alone. No one complained, no one asked to sit beside him. That was also acceptable. The morning lesson was basic chakra theory. Iruka drew a diagram on the board. A simplified human body with blue lines branching through it like rivers. Chakra, Iruka explained, is created by combining physical energy from the body and spiritual energy from the mind. Shinobi mold this chakra and release it through hand signs to perform ninjutsu. Naruto stared at the diagram. Wrong. The thought did not come from the voice. It came from his own body. The diagram felt wrong the way a broken bone felt wrong before pain arrived. Lines branching everywhere. Pathways opening and closing. Energy shaped by signs and formulas. Too many routes, too many delays, too much waste. Inside him, power did not flow like water. It condensed. It gathered at a point. It obeyed pressure. Chakra was a village road system. What Naruto carried was a cannon. Iruka continued. Control is everything. Without control, power becomes dangerous. With control, even a small amount of chakra can become useful. Naruto lifted his hand. The class turned toward him with open surprise. Iruka hesitated. "Yes, Naruto." "If a shinobi has enough power." Naruto asked calmly, "Why should he require signs?" The question was simple. The room did not receive it that way. A few children snickered, thinking it was arrogance. Others frowned, sensing something in his tone that did not sound like a child asking a question. Iruka set the chalk down. Hand signs help shape chakra. Even powerful shinobi use them. Because they lack precision, Iruka blinked. Naruto tilted his head. If power must be folded through symbols before it becomes useful, then the user is not controlling power. The symbols are. The room went silent again. Iruka studied him. For a moment he forgot the rumors. Forgot the fear. Forgot the word monster. He saw only a child asking a question far beyond the first day of class. Then he remembered who the child was, and caution returned. "Hand signs are a foundation," Iruka said carefully. "You will learn them like everyone else." Naruto leaned back. No, the word was not shouted. That made it worse. Iruka's expression hardened. "This is not optional." Naruto's violet eyes settled on him. For the first time, Iruka understood what the reports meant, not killing intent. Not chakra pressure, something else, the feeling of being measured and found temporary. "I said no," Naruto repeated. From that day onward, the academy became a theater of quiet resistance. Naruto attended every class. He listened to every lecture. He memorized history, geography, military structure, clan politics, supply routes, basic formations, and battlefield signals. His written answers were either perfect or deliberately brief to the point of insult. But he refused ninjutsu, transformation jutsu, beneath him, substitution jutsu, an admission that an enemy's attack had been allowed close enough to matter. Clone jutsu, he laughed the first time they explained it, not loudly, just once. That was enough for Iruka to stop mid-sentence. "You find something funny?" Iruka asked. Naruto looked at the practice field where students were struggling to produce pale, wobbling copies of themselves. "You teach children to make false bodies because their real ones are insufficient." Kiba in Yuzuka barked out a laugh. "Big talk from someone who can't even do it." Several students laughed with him. Naruto turned his head. Kiba stopped laughing. Akamaru, still a puppy tucked in his jacket, whimpered and buried his face against Kiba's chest. That caught Naruto's attention more than the boy did. Animals were honest. They reacted to pressure without pride getting in the way. Interesting. Iruka stepped between them. "Naruto, demonstrate the clone jutsu." "No, Naruto. No, you will fail this exercise." Naruto looked past Iruka toward the Hokage monument, visible above the academy roof. "Failure implies I attempted something worth doing." That earned him detention. Detention became common, not because Naruto caused trouble, because he refused to pretend inferior methods deserved reverence. The academy instructors held meetings about him every month. By age 7, his file had become thick enough to require its own storage seal. Subject: Naruto Uzumaki classification. Jinchuriki, additional classification. Restricted behavior. Controlled, non-compliant, observant, social integration. Non-existent, chakra expression. Abnormal. Ninjutsu aptitude. Unconfirmed due to refusal. Threat level. Uncertain. That last word appeared often. Uncertain. It frustrated everyone. A dangerous child could be ranked. A weak child could be corrected. A talented child could be guided. A troubled child could be managed. Naruto did not fit. He rarely lost his temper. He rarely smiled. He never boasted in the childish way Sasuke's admirers expected from prodigies. He simply acted as though the world had already failed to impress him. And the worst part was that sometimes he was right. At 8 years old, during a basic taijutsu assessment, Naruto stood across from a boy 2 years older and nearly twice his size. The instructor gave the signal. The older boy rushed. Naruto moved one step. Only one. The boy flew past him and crashed into the dirt. The instructor blinked. No strike. No visible trip. No chakra burst, just positioning. "Again," the instructor ordered. The boy attacked again, angrier this time. Naruto lifted one finger and tapped him in the center of the chest. The boy froze. His knees gave out. He dropped to the ground gasping, not injured, but unable to make his body obey for 3 full seconds. The instructor ran forward. "What did you do?" Naruto looked mildly bored. I interrupted him. "With what?" "Pressure." "That is not an answer. It is the only one you would understand." The report from that day reached Hiruzen before sunset. Hiruzen read it twice. Then he summoned Naruto. The Hokage's office smelled of paper, smoke, and old wood. Scrolls lined the walls. Sunlight spilled across the desk. The third Hokage sat behind it, looking smaller than the face carved into the mountain, but somehow heavier. Naruto entered without bowing. The Anbu in the rafters noticed. Hiruzen noticed too, but did not comment. "Naruto," he said gently, "how are your classes?" "Slow." Hiruzen's mouth twitched despite himself. "You are expected to learn patience." "I am expected to tolerate inefficiency." "There is value in foundations. There is value in foundations when the building is worth constructing." Hiruzen leaned back. Most children Naruto's age either feared the Hokage or adored him. Naruto did neither. He spoke to Hiruzen as one ruler might speak to another leader whose territory was disappointingly small. It would have been amusing if it were not so concerning. "Do you know why villages exist, Naruto?" "To organize violence." The Anbu above shifted almost imperceptibly. Hiruzen's eyes sharpened. That is one answer. It is the honest one. Villages exist to protect people. By training children to kill other people's children, silence. Hiruzen studied him for a long moment. Who taught you to think that way? Naruto's face remained still. No answer. Inside him, the cold presence smiled. Careful, it whispered. Old men fear children who see through their decorations. Naruto folded his hands in his lap. No one taught me. Your system is visible. Hiruzen sighed softly. There were moments when Naruto sounded like a bitter adult wearing a child's face. Other moments, more troubling still, when he sounded like something that had never been a child at all. And what would you build instead? Hiruzen asked. Naruto turned his gaze toward the window. From the office, he could see rooftops, market streets, training grounds, and the distant academy yard, his village, though he would never call it that. Something larger, he said. Hiruzen waited. Naruto continued, voice quiet. A village competes. A nation fears. A clan hoards. Every border creates waste. Every rival system repeats the same work badly. You call this balance. It is not balance. It is fragmentation. Hiruzen felt cold move through his chest. Those were not the words of a lonely child, but the final sentence was. People here suffer because no one powerful enough has decided they should stop. For the first time in the conversation, Hiruzen saw something human behind Naruto's eyes, not kindness exactly, not compassion, but offense, as if the existence of suffering in his presence insulted him. That was dangerous in a different way than cruelty. Cruelty destroyed because it enjoyed pain. This could destroy because it believed destruction was a reasonable administrative tool. Naruto, Hiruzen said carefully, power cannot solve every problem. Naruto looked back at him. That is something powerless people say to survive disappointment. The meeting ended soon after. Hiruzen watched Naruto leave. Then he removed a sealed file from his desk drawer. It contained everything known about the purple energy Naruto had produced as an infant. There had been 3 confirmed incidents since: a marble of light at age 3, a cracked training post at age 6, a pressure event during a medical examination that caused every glass container in the room to fracture at once. None had harmed anyone. That was the only reason the council had not forced the issue. Yet, Hiruzen added a new note: psychological profile, high intelligence, low attachment, strong control instinct. Does not identify with peers. Possible ideological development toward domination framed as order. Requires humanizing influence. He paused. Then, after a long moment, he added one more sentence: do not allow Danzo access. At the academy, Naruto's isolation deepened. But isolation did not mean invisibility. Everyone watched him. Sakura Haruno watched him because everyone else did, and because she had once been dared to speak to him. It happened during lunch. Ino had been teasing her about Sasuke. Kiba had been loud. Shikamaru had been half asleep beneath a tree, and Naruto had been sitting alone at the edge of the yard with a boxed lunch he had not touched. Someone said Sakura would not dare talk to him. Sakura, at that age, cared very much about not looking afraid, so she marched over with her chin lifted and her hands clenched at her sides. Naruto did not look up until her shadow touched his food. "What?" he asked. Sakura swallowed. Up close, he was not frightening in the way rumors made him sound. He was small, pale, neatly dressed in clothes too plain for someone so talked about. His blonde hair was messy, but not wildly so. The strange thing was his stillness. Most boys fidgeted. Naruto looked like he had chosen stillness and expected reality to respect it. "I just thought," Sakura began. Her prepared insult vanished. Naruto waited. Sakura grew irritated because waiting made her feel foolish. "I thought maybe you wanted someone to sit with." A strange expression crossed Naruto's face. It lasted less than a second. Suspicion. Then something colder covered it. "You want me to acknowledge you," he said. Sakura blinked. "What?" "Everyone does. You approach because being near what others fear makes you feel brave." "That's not, it is." "You may not know it yet." He tilted his head slightly. The need is quaint. Sakura's face burned. I was just trying to be nice. No, Naruto said. You were trying to be seen being nice. The words hit harder because they were not shouted. Sakura stepped back. Her eyes stung, but she refused to cry in front of him. You're horrible, she whispered. Naruto looked down at his untouched lunch. Likely. That answer followed Sakura all the way back to the others. She never approached him again. But years later, she would remember something no one else noticed. After she left, Naruto did not eat. He sat there staring at the space beside him, as if some part of him had almost wanted her to stay and hated himself for it. Uchiha noticed different things. He noticed Naruto did not compete. That bothered him. Everyone competed with Sasuke, whether they admitted it or not. Girls watched him. Boys measured themselves against him. Teachers praised him carefully, as though talent was something fragile that might cut them if held wrong. Naruto did not care. When Sasuke scored highest in Shuriken practice, Naruto did not look. When Sasuke mastered a fire nature exercise early, Naruto did not react. When other students whispered about the last Uchiha, Naruto's expression did not change. At first, Sasuke found it insulting. Then he found it interesting. One afternoon after class, Sasuke followed Naruto to the far edge of the training field. Naruto stopped before Sasuke announced himself. You are loud, Naruto said. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. I didn't make a sound. Your intent did. Sasuke stepped into view. What are you? Most children would have asked, who are you? Sasuke asked the better question. Naruto turned. For a long moment, the two boys simply looked at each other. Sasuke's stare was sharp, angry, wounded beneath layers of pride. It was the stare of someone who had lost everything and decided weakness was the reason. Naruto recognized that. The cold presence inside him recognized it too. This one has spine, Frieza's echo murmured. Damaged but not useless. Naruto looked almost amused. I am Naruto Uzumaki. That's not an answer. It is the only one you are owed. Sasuke's hand twitched near his kunai pouch. Naruto saw it. Do not. The air tightened. Sasuke froze, not from fear exactly, but instinct. His body understood the warning before his pride did. A lesser boy would have backed down. Sasuke forced himself to take one step forward. Naruto's eyes sharpened. For the first time since entering the academy, he looked truly interested. Again, Naruto said. Sasuke frowned. What? Take another step. Sasuke hated being ordered, so he did. The pressure doubled. His knees almost bent. His lungs strained. Something invisible pressed against his skin from every direction. Still, Sasuke remained standing. His Sharingan had not awakened yet, but his eyes burned with the promise of it. Naruto smiled faintly, not kindly, but with approval. Better. Sasuke's teeth clenched. I don't need your approval. No, Naruto said. That is why it has value. From that day forward, Sasuke became the only student Naruto consistently acknowledged, not as a friend, not as an equal, not yet, but as something worth watching. That alone changed the academy's balance. Children who feared Naruto and admired Sasuke did not know what to do when the two occupied the same silence. Teachers tried not to place them together in exercises. When they did, the results were uncomfortable. During strategy drills, Sasuke chose aggressive efficiency. Naruto chose total control. During taijutsu, Sasuke fought like a blade. Naruto fought like gravity. During written exams, Sasuke gave correct answers. Naruto gave answers that made instructors question whether the curriculum was propaganda. The only area where Naruto failed consistently was standard ninjutsu. Transformation, substitution, clone technique all refused. Iruka tried patience, then discipline, then private instruction. Nothing worked. Naruto, Iruka said one evening, standing alone with him in the empty classroom, you are going to fail graduation if you keep doing this. Naruto looked out the window. Orange sunlight filled the academy yard. Children were leaving in groups. Parents waited beyond the gate. Some waved, some scolded. Some smiled. No one waited for Naruto. I am aware, Naruto said. Iruka followed his gaze. Something in his expression softened. The softness irritated Naruto more than anger would have. You're talented, Uruka said. Maybe more talented than anyone here, but being a shinobi is not just about raw power. No, Naruto replied. It is about obedience. It is about teamwork. It is about turning children into tools that function in groups. Uruka's patience cracked. You think you understand everything, but you don't. Naruto turned. For once his voice sharpened. I understand enough. No, you don't. Uruka stepped closer. You think everyone is beneath you because that makes it easier when they reject you first. The room went utterly still. Inside Naruto, the cold presence hissed, insolence, but Naruto did not move. Uruka knew he had touched something dangerous. He continued anyway. You act like you don't care. Maybe part of you doesn't, but I've seen you look at the gate when parents come. I've seen you pause when someone says your name without hate in it. Naruto's fingers curled slowly. The window behind him cracked. Uruka's breath caught. Purple light flickered at Naruto's fingertips. Tiny, controlled. Terrifying. Naruto's face remained calm, but his eyes were colder than winter. Stop, he said. Uruka should have stepped back. He did not. Naruto, I said stop. The purple light sharpened into a point. For 1 second, Uruka saw it not chakra, not lightning, not flame. Something condensed so tightly it seemed to make the air afraid of touching it. Then Naruto closed his fist. The light vanished. The cracked window stopped spreading. Naruto walked past Uruka toward the door. At the threshold, he paused. You are wrong, he said. But his voice was quieter than before. Uruka did not answer, because he knew he was not. Graduation arrived under a gray sky. The class gathered in the exam hall, nervous and excited. For most students, graduation meant forehead protectors, genin teams, missions, and the first real step toward becoming someone important. For Naruto, it meant another room full of people pretending they had authority over him. The test was simple. Clone jutsu. Uruka stood beside Mizuki at the front. Names were called. Students entered one by one. Some passed easily. Some struggled. Some failed and cried. Sasuke passed perfectly, producing solid clones with enough control to earn approving nods from every instructor. Then Naruto's name was called. He entered. Uruka's face was carefully neutral. Mizuki smiled in a way Naruto disliked immediately. Whenever you're ready, Uruka said. Naruto stood in the center of the room. He did not form the hand sign. Uruka closed his eyes briefly. Naruto? No, Mizuki's smile widened. You understand this is the graduation exam? Yes. And you refuse to perform the required technique? Yes. Uruka looked tired. Naruto, please. That word struck oddly. Please, not an order, not a threat, a request. For a moment, something warm inside Naruto shifted. The part of him that remembered a woman's hand, the part of him that watched the academy gate, the part of him that had almost wanted Sakura to sit down. Then the cold presence rose like a blade. Do not kneel for crumbs of approval. Naruto's expression hardened. I will not create a lesser image of myself to satisfy a lesser standard. Mizuki laughed softly. Uruka shot him a warning look, but the damage was done. Mizuki picked up the grading sheet. Then he fails. The word filled the room. Fails. Naruto looked at him. Mizuki's smile twitched. He had expected anger, maybe shouting, maybe the famous monster finally showing itself. Instead, Naruto asked, Do you believe that word has power because you wrote it down? Mizuki stiffened. Uruka stepped in quickly. Naruto, wait outside. Naruto left without another word. He walked through the hallway, past students celebrating with forehead protectors tied proudly around their heads. Some looked at him. Some whispered. Kiba stared openly. Sakura looked away. Sasuke did not. He stood near the exit, forehead protector in hand, dark eyes fixed on Naruto. You failed. Sasuke said. Naruto stopped. I declined. That's not the same thing. No, Naruto agreed. It is not. Sasuke studied him. You could pass if you wanted. Yes. Then why not? Naruto looked toward the village beyond the academy doors. Because one should never teach inferiors that their approval is necessary. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. But this time he did not argue, because some damaged part of him understood the sentence too well. Naruto walked home alone. The village was loud with ordinary life, vendors selling food. Shinobi moving across rooftops, children laughing, parents congratulating new genin. Naruto passed through it all like a shadow with a pulse. For the first time in years, frustration moved beneath his calm. Not because he had failed, because Iruka had said please. Because for half a second, Naruto had wanted to obey. That disgusted the presence inside him, but it confused Naruto. He reached his apartment near sunset. The room was small, plain, and clean because mess offended him. A few books rested on the table. Most were history texts, political records, geography scrolls borrowed from the public library and never returned on time because the librarian feared asking too sharply. Naruto sat on the floor. He lifted one hand. A small purple sphere appeared above his palm, perfectly still, perfectly obedient. No hand signs, no chakra molding, no approval required. He stared at it. "Why should I care?" he whispered. The presence answered immediately, "You should not." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Then why do I?" For once, the presence did not answer quickly. Deep within the seal, behind layers of compressed power and old hatred, the remnant of Frieza examined the child it intended to dominate. There was a problem. Naruto was not weak. That would have been simple. A weak vessel could be drowned. A frightened vessel could be controlled. A desperate vessel could be tempted with strength. But Naruto was not desperate for power. Power came too naturally. What he wanted, though he hated admitting it, was acknowledgement, not worship, not obedience, something smaller, warmer, more dangerous to an emperor than rebellion, connection. Frieza found it repulsive and strategically concerning. "You care because this body is young," the presence finally said. "Because humans are built from need. It will pass." Naruto looked at the purple sphere. "Will it, if you are disciplined?" Naruto closed his fist. The sphere vanished. Outside, the village lights began to glow. Naruto stood and walked to the window. From there, he could see the Hokage monument. 4 faces carved into stone. 4 men who had been called great because they ruled one village. Naruto stared at them for a long time. Then he looked beyond them. Past the walls, past the forests, past Fire Country. The world was larger than Konoha, larger than clans, exams, instructors, and old men pretending borders were natural. For the first time, Naruto did not simply resent the village. He evaluated it, its military structure, its economy, its weaknesses, its symbolic importance, its emotional hold over the people inside it. A starting point. That was what it was, a small one, but every empire required a first piece of territory. The next morning, Iruka received an order from the Hokage. Naruto Uzumaki was to be passed. Official explanation. Exceptional written performance, advanced tactical awareness, and demonstrated alternative combat capability sufficient for genin placement. Unofficial explanation. No one in the room had been willing to fail him twice. When Iruka found Naruto outside the academy and handed him the forehead protector, Naruto looked at the metal plate for several seconds. He did not smile. He did not thank him, but he took it. Iruka waited. Naruto tied it loosely around his arm instead of his forehead. "Aren't you going to wear it properly?" Iruka asked. Naruto glanced at him. "A symbol on the head implies allegiance, and on the arm, utility." Iruka sighed. "You make everything difficult." Naruto looked away. For a brief moment, his voice lost its edge. "You said please." Iruka blinked. "What?" "Yesterday, during the exam." Iruka remembered. "Yes." "Why?" The question was not arrogant. It was almost honest. Iruka looked at the boy before him, this strange, frightening, lonely child carrying power no one understood and pride too heavy for shoulders that small. "Because I wanted you to pass." Iruka said. Naruto was silent. Inside him, the cold presence stirred with irritation. But Naruto ignored it. He looked down at the forehead protector on his arm. Then, very quietly, he said, "That was inefficient." Iruka smiled faintly. "Maybe." Naruto turned to leave. At the gate, he passed Sasuke, Sakura, and the other new graduates gathering for team assignments. Sasuke's gaze flicked to the forehead protector on Naruto's arm. "So they passed you." Naruto continued walking. "Of course." Sakura muttered. "That's not fair." Naruto stopped. The yard went quiet. Sakura immediately regretted speaking. But Naruto did not threaten her, he simply turned his head slightly. Fairness, he said, is the word people use when they dislike the shape of reality. Then he walked inside. Sasuke watched him go. For reasons he did not understand, he almost smiled. That afternoon, the team placements were announced. When Iruka read the names, his voice tightened slightly before one particular assignment. Team 7. Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki. The classroom reacted instantly. Sakura looked horrified. Sasuke looked mildly annoyed. Naruto looked unsurprised. Iruka continued. Your Jonin instructor will be Kakashi Hatake. Naruto leaned back in his seat. A famous name, copy ninja, Sharingan user, student of the 4th Hokage, interesting. Inside him, the cold presence stirred. Another instructor. Naruto's violet eyes moved toward the window. No, he whispered, not instructor, evaluator, and if Kakashi Hatake proved competent, perhaps something more useful. The day ended with sunlight spilling across the emptying classroom. Students left in groups again. Sakura rushed after Sasuke. Kiba complained loudly about his placement. Shikamaru muttered that everything was troublesome. Hinata Hyuga paused near the doorway. For a moment, her pale eyes moved toward Naruto. Unlike most people, she did not look at him with hatred. Unlike Sakura, she did not approach to prove bravery. Unlike Sasuke, she did not challenge him. She simply looked concerned, as if she saw not the pressure, not the rumors, not the cold violet eyes, but the boy sitting alone after everyone else had left. Naruto noticed. Their eyes met. Hinata flinched slightly. But she did not look away as fast as the others. That was new. Naruto studied her. The cold presence dismissed her instantly, timid. Irrelevant, Naruto almost agreed, almost. Then Hinata gave a tiny, nervous bow and hurried out. Naruto remained still. For some reason, the room felt quieter after she left. He looked down at the metal plate tied around his arm, a leaf engraved in steel. A village pretending to be a world. Naruto touched the symbol once. Not with affection, not yet, with consideration. By nightfall, 3 reports had already been sent to the Hokage. One from Iruka. Naruto remained socially isolated but had shown a brief response to direct emotional appeal. One from the Academy administration. Naruto's placement on Team 7 was high risk but unavoidable. One from an Anbu watcher. During sunset, Naruto stood on the Academy roof for 12 minutes facing the village walls. Subject displayed no visible emotion. Air pressure around him increased by measurable degrees. Birds avoided the area. Hiruzen read them in silence. Then he looked out at the village. Somewhere out there, Minato's son was becoming something no one had planned for. Not the 9 tails. Not a normal shinobi. Not a weapon the village could aim. Something colder. Something brilliant. Something that looked at Konoha and did not see home, prison, or enemy. It saw a beginning. And beginnings, Hiruzen knew, were often more dangerous than endings. Chapter 3. Team 7 and the Hierarchy of Ants tagline. A king studies his pawns, story phase. Confrontation, Kakashi Hatake was late. This was not surprising. Everyone in the room had been warned. Sakura complained first, loudly and repeatedly, because complaining gave her something to do besides sit in the same classroom as Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke leaned against the window, arms folded, expression cold, eyes fixed somewhere beyond the village. Naruto sat at the back of the room with the new forehead protector still tied around his arm, not his head, 3 new genin. 1 empty instructor's seat. 1 hour passed. Then 2. Sakura slammed her palms on the desk. That's it. This is ridiculous. What kind of Jonin shows up this late? The kind testing whether impatience makes you careless, Naruto said. Sakura turned sharply. You don't even know that. Naruto did not look at her. If he is incompetent, he is wasting our time. If he is competent, he is measuring us. Either way, anger changes nothing. Sakura's face reddened. Sasuke's eyes shifted toward Naruto. You think he's testing us? I think adults enjoy calling their habits lessons. Sasuke almost looked amused. Sakura crossed her arms and muttered something under her breath. Naruto heard it. He ignored it. Inside him, the cold presence watched the room through his senses with faint contempt. This is your squad. A wounded heir, a loud civilian, and an absent scarecrow. Naruto's gaze moved to Sasuke. Wounded heir was accurate, then to Sakura. Loud civilian was also accurate, then to the door. Absent scarecrow remained unconfirmed. A few minutes later, the door slid open. A silver-haired man leaned into the room with one visible eye curved in what might have been a smile. "Yo," Sakura exploded. "You're late." Kakashi Hatake looked at the three of them. My first impression, he paused. Naruto watched him carefully. The Jonin's posture was lazy, but the laziness was too clean. His weight was perfectly balanced. His visible eye moved across the room once and collected more information than Sakura would have noticed in an hour. Interesting. Kakashi finished. "You're boring." Sakura looked offended. Sasuke looked unimpressed. Naruto said, "You are lying." The room stilled. Kakashi's eye curved a little more. "Oh," Naruto stood. "You arrived earlier. You listened from outside the door for at least 7 minutes. Your breathing shifted when Sakura raised her voice, but not when Sasuke moved. You were waiting to see which of us noticed." Sakura blinked. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Kakashi did not move. Then he laughed softly. "Well," he said, "maybe not completely boring." Naruto studied him. "Not incompetent. Good." Kakashi led them to the roof. The village spread below, bright and ordinary beneath the morning sun. Merchants shouted in the streets. Shinobi crossed rooftops. The Hokage monument watched over everything like carved memory pretending to be protection. Kakashi sat on the railing and opened a small orange book. "Let's introduce ourselves." Sakura frowned. "Introduce ourselves how?" "Name, likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, hobbies, that kind of thing." Sakura immediately straightened because Sasuke was present. Naruto leaned against the wall. Pointless ritual. Still, rituals revealed priorities. Kakashi went first while revealing almost nothing. His name was Kakashi Hatake. His likes and dislikes were private. His dreams were not something he felt like sharing. He had many hobbies. Naruto decided the man was either cautious or deliberately irritating. Both had uses. Sakura introduced herself next, mostly by glancing at Sasuke and failing to say anything meaningful. Her likes were obvious. Her dislikes were vague. Her dream made Sasuke look away. Sasuke spoke after her. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate many things. I don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream because I will make it real. I'm going to restore my clan and kill a certain man." The air tightened around those words. Sakura looked shocked. Kakashi's visible eye sharpened slightly. Naruto watched Sasuke with more interest than before. There it was, not ambition, purpose. Ugly, narrow, and sharpened by grief, but real. Inside him, the cold presence approved. Revenge is primitive, but reliable. Naruto disagreed silently. Revenge was too small. But Sasuke's refusal to soften it for comfort was worth noting. Then Kakashi turned to Naruto. "And you?" Naruto looked over the village. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." Sakura waited. Kakashi waited. Sasuke watched. Naruto continued. "I dislike inefficiency, false authority, weak systems maintained by tradition, and people who confuse noise for courage." Sakura bristled. Kakashi's eye curved. "Likes." Naruto paused. For some reason, the answer did not come quickly. He could have said power. He could have said order. He could have said silence. But those were not likes. Those were conditions. His mind touched, unwillingly, on a memory. Uruka saying please. Hinata bowing at the classroom door. Sasuke taking one step forward under pressure because pride would not let him fall. Naruto's mouth tightened. "Competence," he said. Kakashi tilted his head. "Dream for the future." Naruto finally looked at him. "I intend to correct the world." Sakura stared. Sasuke's expression did not change, but something in his eyes sharpened. Kakashi closed his book. "That's a big dream." "No," Naruto said. "The world is simply smaller than people pretend." For the first time that morning, Kakashi's expression lost its humor completely, only for a second, but Naruto saw it. The bell test was scheduled for the next morning. Kakashi told them not to eat breakfast unless they wanted to throw up. Sakura panicked. Sasuke ignored the warning. Naruto understood immediately that hunger would be part of the test and ate a controlled meal before dawn anyway. The training ground was quiet when they arrived. 2 bells hung from Kakashi's belt. "Your goal is simple," Kakashi said. "Take these bells from me before noon. Whoever fails goes back to the academy," Sakura gasped. "But there are only 2 bells." "Exactly." Kakashi smiled with one eye. "At least one of you fails." Sasuke's body shifted into readiness. Sakura looked between the boys, already calculating poorly. Naruto stared at the bells. A test of competition disguised as survival, or teamwork disguised as competition, crude but not useless. "Begin." Sasuke vanished into the trees. Sakura followed after a moment, less smoothly. Naruto remained where he was. Kakashi looked at him. "Aren't you going to hide?" "No. That confidence may be dangerous." "To you," Kakashi's eye curved. The next second he was behind Naruto with a kunai near his shoulder, or he should have been. Naruto turned before the blade settled. One finger touched Kakashi's wrist. There was no explosion, no visible chakra, just a small pulse of pressure. Kakashi's hand went numb, his grip loosened. Naruto stepped inside his guard, plucked both bells from his belt, and moved away. The entire exchange took less than 4 seconds. Sakura, hidden behind a bush, did not understand what she had seen. Sasuke, watching from a branch, understood enough to hate that he had missed the exact movement. Kakashi looked down at his belt, then at Naruto. For a long moment, no one spoke. Naruto tossed 1 bell to Sasuke. Sasuke caught it instinctively. Sakura's mouth fell open. Kakashi slowly straightened. "Interesting choice." Naruto held the 2nd bell. "I know. Why give one to Sasuke?" Naruto glanced at the Uchiha. He would have taken it eventually. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Naruto continued, "I prefer to appear generous." Sakura snapped, "What about me?" Naruto looked at her. "You hid in a bush and hoped the problem would solve itself." Her face went red. Kakashi raised a hand. "Harsh. Accurate." Kakashi studied Naruto carefully now. The visible eye remained lazy, but the man behind it had changed. The bell test was supposed to reveal teamwork, selfishness, basic tactics. Kakashi expected arrogance from prodigies. He expected resentment from lonely children. He expected recklessness from Jinchuriki. He had not expected administrative cruelty. Naruto had solved the test. He had understood the hidden rule. Then he had chosen to reward only the teammate he considered useful. That was not failure. It was worse. It was leadership without compassion. Kakashi tied Sakura to the post after she failed to obtain a bell. He gave the usual speech about teamwork, about those who break rules being trash, and those who abandon comrades being worse than trash. Sasuke listened with visible impatience. Sakura looked ashamed. Naruto listened politely. That concerned Kakashi most. When Kakashi finished and told them not to feed Sakura, Naruto waited until he vanished into the trees. Then he walked to Sakura and held up a rice bowl from his pouch. Sakura stared at it, confused and suspicious. "What are you doing?" "Passing the actual test." Sasuke looked at him. "You knew." "Obviously." Sakura hesitated before taking the rice bowl. "Then why didn't you give me a bell?" "Because you had not earned one." "That's not teamwork." "No," Naruto said. "This is." He placed the food within reach. "You were useless during the exercise. You are less useful hungry. Correct the problem." Sakura glared at him, but she ate. Sasuke looked away, though Naruto noticed he did not object. Kakashi reappeared in a swirl of leaves and smoke, dramatic enough that Sakura nearly choked. "You pass." Sakura looked relieved. Sasuke looked unsurprised. Naruto looked mildly disappointed. Kakashi pointed at him. "You especially need to learn what teamwork actually means." Naruto met his gaze. "I understand teamwork." "No," Kakashi said quietly. "You understand asset management." For the first time, Naruto did not answer immediately. Inside him, Frieza's echo sneered. "A distinction invented by sentimental soldiers." Naruto agreed, mostly. Still, Kakashi's words remained with him longer than expected. Team 7 early missions were humiliating by design. Lost pets, garden work, cleaning streams. carrying groceries for civilians who smiled at Sasuke, thanked Sakura, ignored Kakashi, and looked at Naruto as if his presence had spoiled the weather. Naruto performed every task perfectly. That was the problem. When catching Tora the cat, he did not chase it. He stood at the alley entrance and released a thin veil of pressure. The cat walked out immediately, trembling, and climbed into Sakura's arms without resistance. When pulling weeds, Naruto removed them root, and all with tiny invisible bursts that left the soil cleaner than before. When repairing a fence, he cut damaged wood with a finger-width beam so cleanly the carpenter stared at the edges for 10 minutes. Kakashi wrote his first serious report after the cat mission. Subject displays precise energy control without seals. Energy is not chakra as traditionally understood. Animals respond with acute distress. Recommend continued observation. Do not provoke. After the fence mission, he wrote another. Destructive output can be scaled down with surgical accuracy. Subject shows no pride in completion of low-level tasks, only irritation at poor design. After watching Naruto silently reorganize an old woman's storage shed by supply category, weight efficiency, and emergency access value, Kakashi added, "Subject may be more dangerous when helping than when attacking." Eventually, Team 7 received a real mission: Wave Country. The client was Tazuna, a bridge builder who smelled of alcohol, fear, and lies. Naruto knew he was lying before they left the village, not because of chakra, because every desperate man believed his desperation made him subtle. He said nothing. Kakashi knew too. Sasuke suspected something. Sakura did not. The road to Wave was quiet at first. Trees pressed in from both sides. Birds moved overhead. Tazuna complained. Sakura tried to make conversation. Sasuke stayed alert. Naruto walked with his hands behind his back like a noble touring disappointing farmland. Then they passed the puddle. Naruto glanced at it once. Too still, wrong temperature, concealed bodies. He kept walking. Kakashi did the same. Moments later, the demon brothers erupted from the water and tore Kakashi apart with bladed chains. Sakura screamed. Tazuna froze. Sasuke moved. Naruto did not. Sasuke intercepted one attacker, adapting quickly, body sharp and efficient. He threw shuriken, pinned chain, moved to protect Sakura and the client. Acceptable. The second demon brother lunged toward Naruto. Naruto turned his head. The attacker stopped midair, not by choice. His body hung suspended in invisible pressure, limbs trembling. His eyes widened behind his mask. Naruto lifted one finger. "Assassin," he said, almost thoughtfully. "Low quality." A purple point of light appeared at his fingertip. Kakashi reappeared behind the first attacker, kunai at his throat, just in time to see Naruto's expression. "Naruto," Kakashi warned. The beam fired. It did not explode. It passed through the demon brother's shoulder armor, destroyed the chain mechanism, and carved a perfect smoking hole through the tree behind him. The man collapsed, alive but shaking. Naruto looked mildly annoyed. I adjusted. Kakashi's hidden eye narrowed. "You were aiming for his head first." "Yes, and then you said my name." Sakura stared at Naruto with open horror. Sasuke stared with something more complicated. Kakashi restrained both attackers and interrogated Tazuna. The truth came out. Gato hired missing Nin, a starving country, a mission far above C rank. Sakura was furious. Sasuke was silent. Tazuna pleaded. Kakashi looked at his team. "This mission is now at least B rank, maybe higher. We should return to Konoha." "No," Naruto said. Everyone turned. Kakashi's tone cooled. "That is not your decision." "It should be." Tazuna looked hopeful, which Naruto found irritating. Naruto continued. "The mission parameters changed because the client lied. Punishing the client by abandoning the mission would be emotionally satisfying and strategically wasteful." Sakura snapped. "People could die." "Yes," Naruto said. "That is what happens when systems depend on weak men telling the truth." Tazuna flinched. Naruto looked at him. "You lied because you lacked money. You lacked money because a criminal controls your economy. Your village lacks defense because larger nations find your suffering inconvenient." This is not a mission problem. It is a governance problem. Kakashi stared at him. Your solution: remove the criminal, stabilize the territory, complete the bridge. Tazuna whispered, You'd really help us. Naruto looked at him as if the question itself was strange. I would correct an inefficiency. Sakura's anger softened into confusion. Sasuke looked toward Kakashi. Kakashi sighed. He should have turned back. He knew that, but he also knew Wave Country was suffering. He knew Tazuna's lie had put children at risk. He knew Naruto's reasoning was cold enough to be frightening and practical enough to be correct. Fine, Kakashi said. We continue, but from here on everyone follows my orders. Naruto smiled faintly. It was not comforting. They met Zabuza Mamachi near the water. Mist rolled across the bridge path, thick and unnatural. Killing intent spread through the air like a blade being slowly drawn. Sakura stiffened. Sasuke's muscles tightened. Tazuna trembled. Kakashi lifted his forehead protector, revealing the Sharingan. Naruto's interest sharpened. The mist carried a voice. Kakashi of the Sharingan, hand over the old man. Zabuza appeared on the sword like a nightmare-given human shape, bandages hiding half his face, massive blade resting across his back. A dangerous man, efficient posture, strong bloodlust, reputation earned, not inherited. Naruto gave him that much. Zabuza began speaking, enjoying the weight of his own presence. Naruto disliked that. Demon of the hidden mist, Zabuza said. I was expecting a purple beam cross the water. No warning, no hand sign, no dramatic build-up. It cut through the mist in a perfect line and struck the massive sword near Zabuza's shoulder. The blade split cleanly, half of it spinning into the water with a heavy splash. Zabuza froze. Kakashi's visible eye widened. Sasuke inhaled sharply. Sakura made a small sound that might have been fear. Naruto lowered his finger. Continue, he said, but with less theater. For the first time in many years, Zabuza Mamachi did not immediately know what to say. Then his killing intent exploded. He lunged. Kakashi moved to intercept, but Naruto was already walking forward. Zabuza's feet hit the water. Naruto raised one hand. The surface beneath Zabuza collapsed, not from impact, from pressure. Water flattened into a circular depression as Naruto's kai pressed downward. Zabuza's movement stalled for a fraction of a second. That was enough. Naruto's second beam struck the ground beside Zabuza's foot, close enough to burn through the sole of his sandal and force him to shift. Third beam. Sword fragments knocked away. Fourth. Water clone dispersed before fully forming. Fifth. The bandage near Zabuza's cheek sliced open. Zabuza stopped. The message was clear. Naruto could have killed him at any point. He was choosing not to. That was worse. Kakashi landed beside Naruto. Naruto, he said carefully. Naruto did not look away from Zabuza. This one is useful. Zabuza's eyes darkened. You arrogant little. Naruto released a thin wave of pressure. The mist vanished, not dispersed by wind, crushed out of formation. Zabuza staggered. For half a second, everyone saw it. The demon of the hidden mist, one of the most feared missing nin alive, forced to adjust his stance under the presence of a 12-year-old boy. Then Senbon flew. They struck Zabuza in the neck. He collapsed. Haku appeared in hunter nin mask and formal posture, apologizing, claiming the body. Kakashi allowed it. Naruto watched, his eyes narrowed. After Haku vanished with Zabuza, Sakura exhaled shakily. Is it over? No, Naruto said. Kakashi glanced at him. You noticed? His pulse changed. It did not stop. Sasuke looked sharply toward the trees. Then why let them go? Kakashi answered before Naruto could. Because we need to know who they're working for and what they'll do next. Naruto looked at Kakashi. That was not fully true. Kakashi had allowed the retreat because fighting Zabuza, Haku, and Naruto's unknown behavior at once created unacceptable risk. Naruto respected the lie. It was tactical. They reached Tazuna's house by evening. Tsunami welcomed them with tired kindness. Inari glared at them with the bitter certainty of a child who had already decided hope was embarrassing. Naruto found him irritating immediately, not because the boy was sad, because he wore despair like wisdom. At dinner, Inari exploded, telling them heroes did not exist, strong people died, and trying only made suffering worse. Sakura looked uncomfortable. Sasuke ignored him. Kakashi remained quiet. Naruto set down his cup. "You are not angry because heroes do not exist," he said. Inari turned on him. "What do you know?" Naruto's violet eyes settled on him. "You are angry because one did, and he died anyway." The room went silent. Tsunami's face tightened. Inari's eyes filled with tears. Naruto continued, voice calm and merciless. "You would rather believe courage is meaningless than admit courage was real and insufficient." Inari shoved back from the table. "Shut up!" "No." "Naruto," Kakashi warned softly, but Naruto did not stop. "Your father figure died because he opposed a man with resources and no counterforce. That does not make bravery useless. It makes unsupported bravery expensive." Inari trembled. "You're horrible." "I am accurate." Tsunami stood. "That's enough." Naruto looked at her, then at the empty place where grief lived in the house like another family member. For a moment, something in his expression shifted. He remembered, though not clearly, a red-haired woman's hand on his cheek, a voice asking him to be kind. His next words came quieter. "If you wish to hate something, hate the structure that required him to stand alone." Inari ran from the room. Sakura looked at Naruto like she wanted to slap him and ask him to explain himself at the same time. Kakashi simply watched. That night, Kakashi trained them in tree walking. Sakura succeeded quickly. Sasuke struggled, then adapted. Naruto stepped onto the tree and walked up without chakra molding. Kakashi's eye narrowed. "You're not using the exercise." Naruto stood sideways on the trunk, looking down at them. "I am attached to the surface." "How?" "Pressure." "You need chakra control." "No," Naruto said. "You need chakra control." Kakashi closed his eye briefly. Every lesson with Naruto became an argument with reality. Later, while Sasuke trained alone, Naruto sat near the water. Haku approached in civilian clothing, carrying herbs. Naruto knew it was him immediately. Haku knew Naruto knew. Still, he sat nearby. "You are very strong," Haku said. "Yes." Most people would have denied it politely. Naruto did not. Haku smiled faintly. "Do you have someone precious to you?" Naruto looked at him. "Define precious." "Someone whose existence gives yours meaning." The answer should have been no. Frieza's echo prepared contempt, but Naruto thought of Uruka. Kakashi, perhaps, in a tactical category, Sasuke as a rival asset, Hinata's nervous bow, a mother he did not remember except as warmth. He looked away. "No." Haku watched him gently. "That sounded like a lie you wanted to be true." The air cooled. Naruto's eyes sharpened. Careful. Haku did not flinch. "I was a tool before Zabuza found me. People feared my bloodline. They hated me for existing. He gave me purpose." Naruto studied him. "You call yourself a tool because it hurts less than admitting you want recognition." Haku's smile faded. Naruto continued, quieter now. "You were never lonely because you were useful. You were lonely because no one recognized your worth until a killer named it." Haku stared at him. That struck deeper than a threat. Naruto understood him, not kindly, not warmly, but precisely, and somehow that was more disturbing. "You speak as if you know," Haku said. Naruto's face closed. "I know many things." Haku stood. "When we meet again, I will protect Zabuza?" "Yes," Naruto said. "Will you kill me?" Naruto looked at the water. "That depends on your usefulness." Haku's expression saddened. "You really do see people that way." Naruto did not answer. After Haku left, the cold presence inside him stirred. Sentiment makes tools imagine themselves people. Naruto watched ripples spread across the water. "Are tools not people?" The presence went still. No. Naruto's fingers tightened. He did not know why that answer bothered him. The bridge battle came at dawn. Gato's men moved through mist and unfinished stone. Zabuza returned with Haku beside him. Kakashi stepped forward. Sasuke moved into position. Sakura guarded Tazuna. Naruto looked past the fighters toward the half-built bridge, a country's artery, a structure that would break Gato's control. Useful. Zabuza rolled his shoulders. "Little Emperor," he said, voice rough. "You going to cut my sword again?" Naruto's mouth twitched. "You brought less sword." Zabuza barked a laugh despite himself. Then the battle began. Haku's mirrors rose around Sasuke in a ring of ice. Sasuke reacted fast, but Haku was faster. Senbon flashed. Reflections moved. The Uchiha was pressed back, bleeding lightly, eyes burning with frustration. Naruto watched from outside the mirrors. Kakashi fought Zabuza in the mist. Sakura shouted Sasuke's name. Naruto raised one finger toward the ice dome, then stopped. Sasuke's chakra flared. His eyes changed. One Tamo. Then another. The Sharingan awakened under pressure. Naruto lowered his hand. Good. Sasuke began tracking Haku's movements. Not perfectly, but enough. He adapted, failed, adapted again. Haku noticed Naruto watching and understood the cruelty. Naruto was allowing the fight to continue because Sasuke was improving. When Haku shifted trajectory towards Sakura to force an opening, Naruto moved. No beam, no blast. He appeared beside the mirror and tapped it once. The ice structure cracked across every surface at the same time. Haku stumbled out. Sasuke dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Naruto looked at him. "You awakened something." Sasuke glared. "I didn't need your help." "No," Naruto said. "You needed pressure." Haku stood between them, Senbon raised. Naruto turned to him. "You have fulfilled your function." Haku's eyes widened slightly behind the mask. "That is all." Naruto's expression remained calm. "That is more than most achieve." Haku's hand trembled. For the first time, anger entered his voice. "I am not just a function." Naruto looked at him for a long moment. Then something strange happened. He did not attack. He stepped aside. "Then prove it by living after your master falls." Haku froze. Across the bridge, Kakashi's Reikiri formed, lightning screaming in his hand as he charged toward Zabuza. Haku saw it. His body moved before thought toward Zabuza, toward death. Naruto's eyes narrowed. The world slowed. He could stop Haku easily. A pressure field, a beam through the leg, a barrier, anything. He did not. Haku chose. The Reikiri struck. Haku fell. The bridge went silent. Something inside Naruto tightened. Not grief, not exactly. Irritation, perhaps. At waste. At a person proving he was not a tool only by dying like one. Zabuza stared at Haku's body. Gato arrived laughing with his mercenaries, mocking the dead, mocking Zabuza, mocking loyalty itself. Naruto listened. Then the air changed. Not an explosion, not rage, something colder. The mercenaries stopped laughing one by one. Gato looked around. What is this?" Naruto walked toward him. Kakashi did not stop him. Sasuke did not speak. Sakura held her breath. Gato stepped back. "Stay away, brat. Do you know who I am?" Naruto stopped in front of him. A small man standing on stolen structure. Gato reached for a blade. Naruto lifted one finger. The blade shattered in Gato's hand. No one moved. "You built control through fear," Naruto said. "That is acceptable only when fear is attached to competence. You are incompetent," Gato whimpered. Naruto turned to the mercenaries. "You will leave Wave Country. You will abandon all claims to its labor, its trade, and its bridge. Anyone who remains after sunrise will be treated as material obstruction." A large mercenary laughed nervously and raised his weapon. Naruto's eyes moved to him. The man collapsed to his knees, gasping under invisible pressure. No wound, no blood, just the certainty that standing had become impossible. The rest dropped their weapons. Gato fled. Zabuza, wounded and shaking, used the last of his strength to deal with him before collapsing near Haku. Naruto watched without expression. When it was over, Zabuza lay dying beside the boy who had chosen him. Snow began to fall, though the season was wrong. Kakashi said something soft about where Haku might have gone. Naruto looked at the two bodies. "Wasteful," he said. Sakura flinched. Kakashi's voice hardened. "Is that all you see?" Naruto did not answer immediately. Then he said, "No." Kakashi looked at him. Naruto's face revealed nothing, but his eyes stayed on Haku longer than necessary. They returned to Konoha after the bridge was complete. The people of Wave cheered. Tazuna named the bridge after Naruto, which Naruto refused. "No," he said. Tazuna blinked. "But you saved us." "I corrected a failure." Inari, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward. "What should we call it then?" Naruto looked at the bridge. a connection between a starving country and the wider world, a structure stronger than one dead hero. The Great Naruto Bridge is sentimental, Naruto said. Tazuna looked embarrassed. Naruto continued, call it the Bridge of Return. Make sure your people use it. Inari looked down, then nodded. Naruto left before anyone could thank him again. On the road home, Team 7 was different, not warmer, not friendly, but aware. Sakura no longer spoke to Naruto casually. There was fear still, but also unwilling curiosity. Sasuke watched him more openly now, especially when he thought Naruto was not looking. Kakashi wrote reports in his head with every step. At the village gates, Naruto paused. Konoha stood ahead, walls high, symbol bright. After wave, it looked smaller, not physically, conceptually. A village was a bridge with walls. A nation was a bridge with an army. An empire was a bridge that allowed no one to starve on either side because disorder was not permitted to survive. Naruto stared at the gates. It's a reasonable starting point, he said. Kakashi heard him. So did Sasuke. Sakura did not understand. That night, Kakashi submitted a classified report directly to the Hokage. It was longer than the others. Team 7 survived Wave Country Mission. Mission rank exceeded initial classification. Gato neutralized. Zabuza and Haku deceased. Bridge completed. Then Naruto Uzumaki demonstrated high-speed precision energy projection, pressure-based immobilization, environmental suppression, and tactical restraint. He is capable of lethal force at range without seals. He chose not to kill multiple targets when prompted by command or personal judgment. This suggests control, not instability. Kakashi paused before writing the next line. This is not a ninja. I do not know what it is. He looked at that sentence for a long time, then added, but it is learning. In his apartment, Naruto stood by the window. A small purple light hovered over his palm. Frieza's echo stirred. You were sentimental. Naruto watched the light. No, you spared the ice user. He died anyway. You allowed him to choose. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Choice produces clearer information. The presence laughed softly. Lie to others if you wish, child. Do not lie inside your own skull. Naruto closed his hand. The light vanished for a moment. He remembered Haku asking if someone precious gave his existence meaning. He remembered Sakura taking the rice bowl, Sasuke standing under pressure, Kakashi saying asset management was not teamwork. Inari looking at the bridge. The thoughts irritated him. They were messy, human, difficult to organize. Outside, the village lights glowed. Naruto looked toward the Hokage monument. He still did not want to be Hokage. That title was too small. But for the first time, he understood something important. People did not follow power alone. They followed meaning. Haku had followed Zabuza because Zabuza gave his pain shape. Inari had followed courage once it had a bridge to stand on. Sasuke followed revenge because it was the only structure left after his family was destroyed. Konoha followed dead men carved into stone because symbols were easier to love than systems. Naruto's violet eyes cooled. Meaning, then, was not weakness. It was infrastructure. And infrastructure could be built. Deep inside the seal, Kurama watched the boy from behind his cage and felt something like dread. The fox had feared hatred. Hatred was simple. Hatred burned, lashed out, consumed itself. This was not hatred. This was ambition learning empathy as a tool. That was far more dangerous. Frieza's echo smiled in the dark, and somewhere beneath both monster and emperor, beneath the cold and the pressure and the impossible power, Naruto Uzumaki felt the smallest flicker of something orange. He did not understand it. So he named it usefulness, for now. Chapter 4. The exams and the Sanin's reckoning tagline. The predator meets the apex and laughs. Story phase. Power reveal the Chunin exams were supposed to measure whether children were ready to become soldiers. Naruto found that funny, not laugh out loud funny. Not the kind of humor Sakura would recognize or Kakashi would hide behind his little orange book. It was a colder amusement, the sort that came from watching a village pretend it was testing maturity while sending 12-year-olds into controlled danger for political display. The academy had been a factory. Team missions had been field trials. The Chunin exams were theater. And theater, Naruto had learned, mattered. Not because it was honest, because people believed what they saw performed confidently enough. The morning Team 7 arrived at the exam building. Konoha was already crowded with foreign shinobi. Sand, mist, grass, rain, sound, villages wearing different symbols, carrying different grudges, all standing beneath one roof and pretending rules made them civilized. Naruto observed them with quiet interest. The Sand siblings stood out first. The puppet user carried himself like someone trying to look more dangerous than he felt. The fan-wielding girl had sharp eyes and sharper posture, but the red-haired boy between them was different, Gaara. Naruto felt the pressure inside him before anyone spoke. A container, a real one. The One-Tail's chakra sat inside Gaara like a wound packed with sand and hatred. Wild, hungry, unstable, primitive, Naruto's violet eyes lingered on him. Gaara slowly turned. Across the crowded hallway, their gazes met. For 1 second, the air between them tightened. Gaara's sand shifted in his gourd. Naruto's kai did not rise. It did not need to. Inside Naruto's seal, Kurama growled. The One-Tail's scent was distant but unmistakable. Frieza's echo stirred with faint disgust. Another beast in another child. This world has a habit of using cages and calling them strategy. Naruto did not answer, because for once, he almost agreed. Gaara stared at him with hollow eyes, the eyes of someone who had never slept long enough to dream of anything kind. "You!" Gaara whispered from across the hall. Kankuro looked at him. "Gaara!" Naruto tilted his head slightly. Gaara's sand twitched. Then Sasuke stepped forward, interrupting the line of sight. Naruto noticed, not protection, challenge. Sasuke had sensed the exchange and disliked being excluded from it. Good. The hallway incident with Rock Lee happened soon after. Lee challenged Sasuke. Sasuke accepted. Sakura panicked. Kakashi was absent as usual. Naruto watched the fight unfold with more patience than expected. Lee was strange, not weak, not loud without purpose, not a child pretending at danger. His body was his weapon in the purest sense. Every movement had been refined through repetition until effort became structure. He used no ninjutsu, no bloodline, no hidden power. Only training. Naruto respected that. Sasuke lost quickly, not humiliatingly, not because he lacked talent, because Lee's discipline had matured faster than Sasuke's eyes. When Lee's kick stopped near Sasuke's face and the Uchiha boy froze, Naruto saw it clearly. Sasuke was not angry because he had lost. He was angry because effort had defeated inheritance. Lee lowered his leg. Then he turned toward Naruto, his eyes burned with sincerity. "Naruto Uzumaki," Lee said, "I would also like to challenge you." Sakura looked horrified. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Naruto studied Lee. "No," Lee blinked. "Why, you already proved your point." Lee frowned. "But I have not tested myself against you." Naruto looked at his bandaged hands, his posture, the tension in his muscles. "You have built your strength honestly. Do not waste it on a wall before you understand its height." Lee's expression shifted. Most people would have heard insult. Lee heard acknowledgement. He bowed deeply. "Then one day I will climb high enough." For the first time, Naruto gave him a small nod. One day, perhaps. Sasuke hated that exchange. Naruto knew without looking. The written exam began with tension thick enough to cut. Rows of genin sat under the supervision of scarred examiners, most of them pretending not to be frightened. Ibaki Morino stood at the front like a man who enjoyed silence, because silence meant pressure was working. The test papers were distributed. Sakura began calculating immediately. Sasuke scanned the room for opportunities to copy. Naruto looked at the first question, then the second, then the third. He understood at once. The questions were too advanced for most genin. The test was not about knowledge. It was about information gathering under observation. Cheating was required. Failure came from being caught. Another theater, Naruto filled out the entire test in under 5 minutes, not by cheating, by answering correctly. Then he placed his pencil down and waited. Ibaki noticed. Of course he did. The scarred man's gaze moved to Naruto's paper once, then to Naruto's face. Their eyes met. Ibiki had interrogated spies, traitors, enemy shinobi, and men who begged for death before giving up names. Naruto's stare did not feel like resistance. It felt like permission. As if the boy would allow Ibiki to continue breathing because this room was still useful. Ibiki looked away first, not obviously. But Naruto saw it. When the 10th question came, Ibiki gave his speech. Stay and risk permanent failure if wrong. Leave and fail with your team. Pressure. Fear. Consequence. Genin raised their hands. One by one, weaker resolve broke. Naruto remained still. Sakura's hand trembled. She looked at Sasuke, then at Naruto. Naruto did not look back. This was her test. If she left, she left. If she stayed, she stayed. Sasuke's expression remained hard. Sakura slowly lowered her hand. Naruto noted the decision, small courage, unrefined but present. Ibiki finally smiled. There is no 10th question. Everyone who stayed passes. Relief washed across the room. Naruto did not react. Ibiki looked toward him again. You don't seem surprised. Naruto stood. Your threat was too elaborate to be real. A few genin stared. Ibiki's smile widened. Is that so? If the goal was to reduce numbers, easier methods existed. If the goal was to test resolve, the question did not need to exist. Therefore, it did not. Sakura stared at him. Sasuke looked irritated because he had reached the same answer too late. Ibiki chuckled quietly. Team 7, he said, is going to be troublesome. Then Anko Mitarashi crashed through the window. Glass shattered, curtains tore, papers flew. She landed dramatically and announced the second exam with enough energy to make the entire room regret surviving the first. Naruto looked at the broken window, then at Anko. Wasteful entrance. Anko grinned. Oh, I like this one? No, Naruto said. You find me entertaining. That is different. Her grin sharpened. The forest of death suited its name. Tall trees twisted overhead like ancient ribs. Vines hung low. Insects clicked in the dark. Predators moved through the underbrush with quiet hunger. To most genin, it felt like entering enemy territory. To Naruto, it felt like a poorly managed training reserve. Team 7 entered with a heaven scroll. They needed Earth. Sasuke took command out of habit. We need to avoid unnecessary fights and identify a team with the other scroll. Sakura nodded, nervous but focused. Naruto looked into the forest. There is a rain team 200 meters northwest. Their breathing is uneven. One is injured. They have Earth. Sasuke turned. How do you know that? Naruto began walking. I listened. Sakura frowned. You can hear that far? Yes. That's not normal. Naruto glanced back. You keep noticing? They found the rain team exactly where Naruto said. The fight lasted 8 seconds. Sasuke disabled one with precise taijutsu. Sakura used wire to trip another. Naruto simply stood in front of the third and looked at him until the boy dropped the scroll with shaking hands. Sasuke picked it up. That was too easy. No, Naruto said. Most things are exactly as difficult as people deserve. Sakura looked at him uneasily. They reached the tower perimeter within the first hour. Sakura stared at the distant structure through the trees. We could finish now? Yes, Sasuke frowned. Then why aren't we? Naruto looked back into the forest. Because the exam has gathered every promising asset from multiple villages into one enclosed environment. Leaving early would be a waste of information. Sakura's mouth opened. You want to stay in the forest of death to watch people fight? Yes. That's insane. That is reconnaissance. Sasuke's eyes sharpened. He understood the logic. He disliked that he understood it. For the next 2 days, Naruto treated the forest of death like a sightseeing tour of inferior violence. He observed a grass team ambush a group from Waterfall and predicted the outcome before the first kunai was thrown. He watched Kiba's team maneuver through enemy traps and noted that Shino's insects reacted to his kai by refusing to fly within 10 meters of him. He saw Neji Hyuga dismantle a rival team without wasted movement. That interested him, not as much as Lee, but enough. Once, a sound team intercepted Team 7. 3 genin wearing arrogance-like armor stepped into the clearing and announced themselves with theatrical cruelty. Naruto sighed. Sasuke shifted into stance. Sakura drew a kunai. The sound shinobi began explaining their superiority. Naruto let them finish, barely. The first rushed him with sound-based gauntlets. Naruto lifted one finger. A tiny Kai pulse struck the gauntlet before the attack formed. The device cracked apart. Second opponent, one flick to the knee. He collapsed, not injured beyond repair, but unable to stand. Third opponent, pressure felt across the chest. She flew backward into a tree and slid down unconscious. 4 movements, 3 bodies down. Naruto stepped over them without looking. Sakura stared. You didn't even ask what they wanted. They wanted to win. Sasuke looked at the broken gauntlet. You're holding back. Naruto paused. Yes. Sasuke hated the simplicity of the answer. Then the forest changed, the birds stopped, the insects vanished, the air grew damp and heavy. Naruto turned before the others sensed anything. A grass ninja stepped from the trees, smiling with a mouth that did not belong to the face. Orochimaru. Naruto did not know the name yet, but his body understood predator before explanation. The man's chakra was wrong in a familiar way. Not like Naruto's, not like Kai, wrong because it had been altered deliberately, repeatedly, obsessively. A human who had taken himself apart and rebuilt the pieces without concern for whether the result was still human. Sasuke froze under the killing intent. Sakura's knees nearly buckled. Naruto stood still. Orochimaru's golden eyes moved over the team and settled on Sasuke first, then Naruto. The smile widened. Well, he said softly, what an interesting team. Naruto looked bored. Your face is borrowed. Sakura's eyes widened. Orochimaru's smile twitched. And your power is not chakra. Kakashi had suspected. Hiruzen had feared. Orochimaru said it like a scientist tasting rare poison. Sasuke forced himself to move. Who are you? Orochimaru ignored him. His attention had shifted fully to Naruto. The killing intent intensified. The forest became a graveyard made of imagination. Sakura saw herself dying. Sasuke saw Itachi. Their bodies locked under terror. Naruto felt the pressure roll over him. It was unpleasant, not frightening, just rude. Inside him, Frieza's echo laughed. This worm thinks fear is a weapon. Naruto's violet eyes narrowed. He took one step forward. Orochimaru's smile faltered for the first time. Naruto released his suppression Kai, not a blast, not an attack, a declaration. The ground beneath his feet cracked in a perfect circle. Leaves flattened against the earth. Tree bark groaned. The air became so heavy that Sakura was forced to one knee. Sasuke's breath stopped. Orochimaru remained standing for 1 second, too. Then his knees hit the dirt. The forest went silent for a mile. No birds, no insects, no wind. Only the sound of Orochimaru's breathing, suddenly uneven. Naruto looked down at him. You use terror like a child uses a painted mask. Orochimaru's fingers dug into the soil. His mind moved faster than his body could recover. Impossible, not the 9 tails, not a Jinchuriki flare, not Biju chakra. This was refined, compressed, personal. A pressure that did not spill from a seal but radiated from ownership. For the first time since he was very young, Orochimaru felt prey shaped. His eyes widened with something dangerously close to joy. Wonderful, he whispered. Naruto's disgust deepened. Do not admire me. Orochimaru laughed softly, even from his knees. What are you? Naruto's expression cooled. A question above your station. The pressure doubled. Orochimaru's hands shook. Sasuke watched, frozen between terror and fury. This was the man who had entered like a nightmare, and Naruto had forced him down without touching him. Something inside Sasuke twisted. He wanted power. He needed power. But watching Naruto made the word feel almost meaningless. Orochimaru's gaze flicked to Sasuke. He saw the hunger. He saw the wound. He saw the future opening. But not today. Today, the monster he came to mark was standing beside something worse. Orochimaru's tongue slid across his lips. I will remember this. Naruto raised one hand. A purple sphere formed above his palm, small, perfect. Orochimaru's instinct screamed. He moved. His body dissolved into snakes, shedding the false grass skin, retreating through roots and shadows with speed born not of pride but survival. Naruto, let him go. Sakura collapsed fully, shaking. Sasuke remained standing through force of will alone. Naruto closed his fist. The sphere vanished. Sasuke rounded on him. Why didn't you kill him? Naruto looked at the place Orochimaru had vanished, because he came for you. Sasuke froze. Sakura looked up. Naruto continued. Now we know someone powerful outside the village has identified your value. Sasuke's fists clenched. I don't need you protecting me. I did not protect you. I preserved information. Sasuke stepped closer. You always talk like people are pieces on a board. Naruto's eyes shifted to him. People behave like pieces when they lack vision. Sasuke's Sharingan flickered. For one dangerous second, it seemed he might attack. Then Sakura said his name softly, not dramatically, not like a fangirl, like a teammate afraid he would do something stupid. Sasuke stopped. Naruto noticed that too. They reached the tower on the third day. No one celebrated. The preliminaries began soon after. By then, every Jonin instructor had heard whispers. Something had happened in the forest. No one knew what. Orochimaru had retreated. The sound team had been found unconscious and terrified. Team 7 had arrived unharmed. Kakashi looked at Naruto for a long moment when they entered the tower. Naruto met his gaze. Kakashi knew immediately there were parts of the story no report would explain. The preliminary matches were announced one by one. Sasuke fought first. The curse mark never existed in this timeline, so the battle against Yoroi was cleaner, colder, more revealing. Sasuke won through speed, precision, and anger held under control. Not perfect, but effective. Naruto watched with interest. Sasuke was growing slowly, but in the correct direction. Then Sakura fought Ino. Naruto expected little. He was almost wrong. The fight was messy, emotional, inefficient, but beneath the noise, Sakura showed something Naruto had not credited her with before: refusal. She was not strong yet. She was not strategically mature. But when hurt, embarrassed, and pushed, she did not quit. Their match ended in a draw. Naruto considered revising her classification, not useful, potentially useful. Then came Naruto's match. The board flashed. Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. A hush fell across the room. Hinata's face went pale. Neji stepped forward with calm superiority, white eyes fixed on Naruto. Naruto walked down without hurry. Kakashi's expression sharpened. Guy folded his arms. Hayashi Hyuga, watching from the upper level, did not move. Neji took his stance. You should withdraw. Naruto stopped across from him. Why? Because fate has already decided the outcome. Naruto stared at him, then he laughed softly. Once, Neji's expression hardened. You mock fate. I mock people who lose and call the shape of their cage destiny. The room went silent. Hinata's breath caught. Neji's Byakugan activated. Veins rose around his eyes. Then he saw Naruto. Not chakra coils, not normal Tenketsu, not anything the Hyuga teachings had prepared him for. Naruto's network looked like a star compressed into human skin. Chakra pathways twisted inward, dominated by a single impossible current. Points that should have been open were sealed under pressure. Nodes that should have released chakra instead condensed energy until the Byakugan itself struggled to interpret the brightness. Neji flinched. A Hyuga flinched while looking at a chakra network. Hayashi saw it from above. His face tightened. Neji attacked. Gentle fist required precision. Strike the Tenketsu. Block the flow. Disable the opponent without brute force. Against Naruto, it was like trying to close floodgates on sunlight. Neji's first strike touched Naruto's shoulder. Nothing happened. Second strike, ribs. Nothing. Third, center chest. Naruto looked down at the fingers pressed against him, then back at Neji. Your style assumes the enemy's body respects your rules. Neji's eyes widened. Naruto lifted one hand and touched Neji's forehead with 2 fingers. A pulse, not enough to harm permanently. Enough to end the fight. Neji flew backward and struck the floor, sliding until he stopped near the wall. He did not get up. 3 seconds. The examiner stared, then raised his hand. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. No one cheered. Naruto turned to leave. Hinata took 1 step forward, barely aware she had moved. Naruto noticed. Their eyes met across the arena. She looked frightened, but not of him. For him, that irritated him and stayed with him. Later, Neji would wake in the medical ward with a headache that lasted a week and a worldview that had cracked down the center. The finals were scheduled 1 month later, but the month did not matter to Naruto the way it mattered to others. Sasuke trained with Kakashi. Sakura trained with renewed seriousness. Neji recovered in silence. Gaara grew more unstable. Orochimaru hid beneath another face and planned. Naruto did not train, not publicly, he studied. Maps, treaty records, trade disputes, historical wars between the 5 great nations, the price of iron, the average mission failure rate by rank, the birth rates of shinobi clans, the number of children orphaned per conflict cycle. The pattern was obvious. The shinobi world did not have a morality problem, it had a structural problem. Every village required conflict to justify itself. Every nation funded shinobi to prevent weakness. Every peace treaty created the conditions for the next war because no central authority existed strong enough to make war obsolete. Naruto found this offensive, not emotionally, administratively. The finals arrived beneath bright sunlight and crowded stands. Foreign dignitaries filled the arena. The Kazekage sat beside Hiruzen. Kakashi watched from the edge with his one visible eye fixed on Naruto more often than Sasuke. The matches began. Sasuke fought Gaara. It was impressive. Sasuke's speed had sharpened. His lightning technique pierced Gaara's sand defense. The crowd roared. Gaara bled for the first time, then the invasion began. Feathers fell. Genjutsu swept over the arena. Explosions shook the walls. Sand and sound shinobi revealed themselves. The Kazekige's disguise dropped. Orochimaru smiled from beneath stolen authority. Konoha erupted into chaos. Naruto stood in the center of the arena and looked around, screaming civilians, fighting shinobi, foreign betrayal. A Hokage trapped in a barrier above. A tailed beast vessel losing control below. Theater had become war. How predictable! Gaara fled with his siblings, clutching his wounded shoulder, the one tail stirring violently inside him. Sasuke pursued. Kakashi shouted orders. Sakura moved to help. Naruto looked up at the rooftop where Hiruzen and Orochimaru faced each other behind the barrier. For a moment, he considered going there. Then the earth trembled. Outside the arena, Shukaku began to emerge. A massive sand form rose beyond the trees, roaring with ancient madness. Its chakra spread like a sandstorm over the village. Civilians screamed. Shinobi redirected forces. Sakura froze at the sight. Sasuke, injured from pursuit, stared upward in disbelief. Gaara's voice echoed from within the forming beast, broken and triumphant and terribly young. Naruto walked toward it, not ran, walked. Kakashi landed nearby. Naruto, wait. Naruto did not stop. That thing can level part of the village, Kakashi said. Yes, you need backup. No, Kakashi moved in front of him. For once, his voice lost every trace of laziness. Naruto, listen to me. This is not a mission objective. This is a tailed beast. Naruto looked at him. No, Kakashi, it is a malfunctioning power source attached to a child with no internal governance. Kakashi stared. Inside Naruto, Kurama snarled. The One-Tail's presence grated against him. Frieza's echo laughed softly. Now this is familiar. A loud creature mistaking size for authority, Naruto stepped past Kakashi. The partial Shukaku roared and swung a massive arm toward him. Naruto raised his palm. The arm stopped. The impact never landed. Invisible pressure held the sand in place, grains shaking violently against a force they could not understand. Gaara's eyes widened from within the beast. What are you? Naruto's voice carried across the battlefield without shouting. Correcting you. Shukaku pushed harder. Naruto's feet did not move. The ground beneath him cracked outward. Then Naruto's violet eyes brightened. For the first time in front of Konoha's defenders, his body changed. Not dramatically like a beast transformation. Cleanly. His skin seemed to smooth into colder lines. Purple markings darkened faintly around his eyes and wrists like royal armor suggested beneath human flesh. The air pressed down. His hair lifted slightly from the pressure rising around him. Form 2. A ×50 release, controlled for less than 10 seconds. Enough. Every sensor in the village felt it. On the rooftop, Hiruzen nearly lost focus. Orochimaru stopped mid-sentence. Across the battlefield, Hyuga eyes widened. Aburame insects burrowed into sleeves and refused to emerge. Gaara screamed as Shukaku's form destabilized. Naruto reached forward, not physically, but with Kai tuned so precisely it slid through sand, chakra, and sealwork until it found the beast's frequency. The one tail was noise. Naruto pinched. The roar cut off, not faded, cut like a radio silenced by a hand turning the dial. Shukaku's massive form collapsed into dead sand. Gaara fell from the center, unconscious before he hit the ground. Naruto caught him with pressure and lowered him gently. The battlefield went silent. Sasuke stared at Naruto as if seeing him for the first time and hating every second of it. Sakura covered her mouth. Kakashi did not move. Naruto released form too. The air became breathable again. He looked down at Gaara. The red-haired boy's face, without the beast screaming through it, looked younger, smaller. Naruto's expression shifted faintly. "You were badly managed," he said. No one knew whether he meant Gaara, Shukaku, or the entire shinobi system. Perhaps all three. Above the arena, Hiruzen Sarutobi fought his last battle. Orochimaru summoned the dead. The first Hokage. The second. History weaponized against the man who had inherited it. The battle was brutal but not endless. Hiruzen was old. Orochimaru was prepared. The Reaper appeared again. Naruto felt it. Across distance, through stone, through chaos, through the seal carved into his own existence. The Shikifujin. The same cold law that had opened the wrong door the night he was born. His eyes lifted toward the rooftop. For one moment the world slowed. Inside him, Frieza's echo went quiet, not afraid, attentive. Kurama growled from his cage. Hiruzen sealed Orochimaru's arms, not his life. The Sannin screamed. The barrier fell. The third Hokage collapsed. Naruto arrived after the end, not because he could not have arrived sooner, because he had chosen the village first. That truth would trouble him later. Hiruzen lay among broken tiles and fading smoke. His breath was thin. His face looked older than the monument, older than the office, older than all the lies he had carried. Orochimaru had escaped. Kakashi stood nearby, silent. Anbu gathered at a distance. Naruto walked to Hiruzen's side. The old man opened his eyes. "Naruto," he whispered. Naruto looked down at him. "You failed to kill him." Hiruzen smiled weakly, still honest. "It was not praise. I know." For a moment the battlefield noise seemed far away. Hiruzen's gaze moved over Naruto's face. "I'm sorry," he said. Naruto's expression did not change. "For what?" "For leaving you alone too often. For thinking observation was protection. For too many things." Naruto felt irritation rise, not at Hiruzen, at the apology. Apologies were inefficient. They changed nothing. They did not restructure systems or reverse decisions, and yet his throat tightened slightly. He disliked that. Hiruzen's hand moved weakly. Kakashi stepped closer as if to help, but Naruto reached first. He allowed the old man's fingers to touch his sleeve. Hiruzen's voice became faint. "Protect the village." Naruto stared at him. Inside him, Frieza's echo sneered, begging from a dying administrator. Kurama watched silently. Naruto looked past Hiruzen toward Konoha. Smoke rose from damaged buildings. Shinobi carried civilians. Children cried. Medics moved quickly. Fires were being contained. The village had survived, but survival looked ugly up close. Protect the village. Too small. Too sentimental, too incomplete. Naruto looked back at Hiruzen. "I intend to improve it." Hiruzen's eyes softened. Perhaps he understood the danger in that sentence. Perhaps he was too tired to fear it. Perhaps at the end he chose hope because old men had little else to leave behind. Then, Hiruzen whispered, "Do better than us." His hand fell. The third Hokage died beneath the open sky. Naruto stood over him in silence. Kakashi lowered his head. Around them, Anbu knelt. Naruto did not kneel, not because he felt nothing, because what he felt had no shape he trusted. Later the village would mourn. There would be speeches, flowers, black clothing, names spoken with trembling pride. The Hokage monument would gain another layer of meaning, another dead man turned into stone so the living could pretend permanence existed. Naruto attended the funeral. He stood at the back. Iruka cried openly. Kakashi held his book but did not read. Sakura stood with her parents. Sasuke stood alone. Hinata glanced once toward Naruto, then looked away when she realized he had noticed. The rain began halfway through the ceremony. People called it fitting. Naruto called it weather, but he did not leave. After the funeral, the council summoned him, or tried to. Naruto arrived before the messenger found him. The elders sat in the same sealed chamber where his fate had once been debated as an infant. Danzo was there. Hamura, Koharu, several clan heads. Kakashi stood behind Naruto, officially as his Jonin instructor, unofficially because no one wanted Naruto in that room unwatched. Danzo spoke first. Your actions during the invasion require explanation. Naruto looked at him. No, the room chilled. Koharu frowned. You revealed an unknown transformation in public. I ended a tailed beast manifestation in public. Hamura leaned forward. And what exactly are you, Naruto? Kakashi's eyes sharpened. Naruto looked around the room, old fear, political calculation, clan caution. People who had watched him since infancy and understood less now than they had then. I am the result of your village surviving a night it did not understand, Naruto said. Danzo's visible eye narrowed. You are a weapon. Naruto smiled faintly. No, weapons require wielders. Shikaku Nara, seated near the side, closed his eyes as if already tired of the future. Danzo's hand tightened around his cane. You speak boldly for a genin. You mistake rank for relevance. Kakashi almost sighed. Almost. Koharu's voice sharpened. The village needs stability after the Hokage's death. You will obey restrictions until a new Hokage is appointed. Naruto looked at her. Your village was invaded by a foreign power, aided by a missing nin your systems failed to contain. Your Hokage died using a forbidden technique previously responsible for the condition you still do not understand. Your Jinchuriki asset from sand collapsed because his handlers confused trauma with control, and your recommendation is restriction. Silence. Naruto's violet eyes cooled. This is why villages fail, Danzo stood. You arrogant child. Pressure touched the room, not enough to harm, enough to remind everyone that Naruto was being polite by choice. Kakashi's hand moved slightly, not toward a weapon but toward Naruto's shoulder. Naruto noticed. Strangely, he allowed the touch. Kakashi's voice was calm. That's enough. For a second, Naruto considered ignoring him, then he let the pressure fade. The elders noticed that too. Kakashi had influence, not control, but influence that made him important. Naruto turned to leave. At the door, Danzo spoke again. One day, boy, you will learn that even kings can be buried. Naruto paused. He looked back. Only if they stay in one country long enough for the grave to matter. Then he left. That night, Orochimaru sat in a hidden chamber far from Konoha, arms sealed and useless, face twisted with pain. Kabuto adjusted medical instruments nearby. You were marked by the Reaper, Kabuto said quietly. The damage is spiritual. Orochimaru laughed weakly. Yes. Hiruzen was always sentimental enough to aim for symbolism. Kabuto hesitated. And the Uzumaki, Orochimaru's smile changed. Pain could not hide fascination. He is not a container. Kabuto waited. Orochimaru's golden eyes gleamed. He is not even human in the way we use the word. His chakra network has been conquered by something else. Not damaged, not sealed, conquered. You sound impressed. I am. That seems dangerous. Orochimaru looked down at his useless arms. For once, the memory of kneeling in the dirt returned sharper than his hunger for knowledge. He made me feel small, Orochimaru whispered. Kabuto said nothing. Orochimaru's smile widened. I despise him for it. Then softer, and I must understand him. In Konoha, Naruto stood alone on the Hokage monument after midnight. The village below was wounded but alive. Repairs had already begun. Temporary shelters, medical distribution, patrol rotations, resource allocation, slow, messy, human. Naruto could see a dozen ways to improve it before breakfast. Inside him, Frieza's echo stirred. You revealed too much. Naruto looked at his hand. A faint purple glow gathered, then faded. Yes. Careless. Necessary. You silenced the beast for them. I silenced a failure. You chose their survival. Naruto did not answer. The presence smiled coldly. You are becoming attached. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Below, he saw Iruka helping carry supplies, Kakashi standing with medics despite exhaustion, Sakura speaking to injured civilians, Sasuke alone on a rooftop, staring toward the darkness beyond the village walls, Hinata helping a child wrap a blanket around his shoulders. Naruto looked away. Attachment is inefficient, and yet Naruto closed his fist. The purple light vanished. For a long time he stood beneath the stars. He thought of Orochimaru kneeling, Neji falling, Gaara collapsing once the beast went silent, Hiruzen asking him to protect the village. He thought of the old man's final words, "Do better than us." Naruto looked over Konoha. The village wanted a Hokage. A new face on the mountain, a new administrator for the same broken system. But Naruto no longer saw a village. He saw a prototype, a flawed one, a sentimental one, a beginning wrapped in smoke and mourning. His violet eyes reflected the distant lights. "I will improve it," he said. Deep inside, Kurama listened and felt the cage around him seem smaller. Frieza's echo smiled with imperial approval. But somewhere beneath both of them, the warm, orange part of Naruto Uzumaki remembered a dying old man's apology and did not know what to do with the ache it left behind. So he called it responsibility. For now, Chapter 5, the Empire Ascending tagline, the Akatsuki hunt Jinchuriki Naruto hunts nations. Story phase. Conquest 2 years after the death of the third Hokage, the shinobi world began losing things, not villages, not armies, not entire clans in the night. That would have been easier to understand. The world knew how to respond to fire. It knew how to respond to blood, betrayal, assassinations, and declarations of war. Shinobi history was built from obvious disasters. A village burned, a treaty broke, a cage died, and everyone knew where to point their fear. But this was different. A weapons shipment from Iron Country vanished from its route, then reappeared 3 days later in Konoha inventory records with corrected ownership seals, and a signed explanation that the shipment had been purchased through a fraudulent chain of contracts. A missing Nin safe house in the land of rivers went silent. No bodies were found, no battle damage, only a single sheet of paper on the table listing every bounty transaction the group had handled for the previous 5 years. A corrupt noble in Fire Country woke to find his private guards kneeling outside his bedroom door, not injured, not dead, simply unwilling to stand. On his desk rested a revised tax ledger and a note. "Your theft has exceeded administrative tolerance. Correct it before sunrise." He corrected it. A border skirmish between Earth and Lightning never happened because both patrol units received identical orders from sources they believed were their own command structures. The orders redirected them to opposite sides of the valley. By the time anyone realized the interference, the supplies that had caused the dispute had already been redistributed to 3 famine-affected towns. No one declared responsibility. No one needed to. The 5 great nations began whispering one name, Naruto Uzumaki. Some still called him Konoha's Jinchuriki because it made them feel safer. Others called him the Purple Demon because shinobi were dramatic even when terrified. The more cautious intelligence officers used a different phrase, uncontained sovereign-class entity. Naruto disliked that one the least. He was 14 now, taller, sharper, quieter. The orange clothes were gone, replaced by fitted black and white combat clothing with violet lining at the collar and cuffs. Not armor. He did not require armor. But the design carried a deliberate elegance, clean and severe, as if every piece of fabric had been chosen to remind people that power did not need decoration to be royal. His forehead protector remained tied around his arm, still not on his head. Konoha had changed around him too. Tsunade had returned as fifth Hokage, though Naruto had not chased her in the traditional way. Jiraiya had attempted to drag him on a search mission. Naruto had refused the first 3 times. On the 4th attempt, Jiraiya tried to lecture him about responsibility. Naruto had listened for exactly 1 minute before saying, "If Konoha requires a drunk medic with gambling debt to remain functional, then Konoha is worse designed than I thought." Jiraiya had stared, then laughed so hard he nearly fell off the roof. Tsunade returned anyway. Not because Naruto inspired her, because he sent her a folder. Inside it were medical casualty projections for the next 5 years if Konoha continued without a competent Hokage. A full list of hospital inefficiencies since the invasion, 3 viable reforms for medic nin deployment, and 1 handwritten note. Your grief is not special enough to justify administrative neglect. Tsunade had punched a wall hard enough to collapse half a gambling den. Then she came home. Their first meeting was brief. She entered the Hokage office expecting an arrogant brat. She found Naruto sitting in the visitor chair, legs crossed, hands folded, violet eyes calm. Tsunade's brow twitched. "You're the kid who sent me that insulting file." "Yes, you have a death wish." "No, you think you can speak to me like that?" "I already did." Shizu nearly dropped taunton. Jiraiya leaned against the window. Grinning like this was the best show he had seen in years. Tsunade stepped closer, chakra flaring. Naruto did not move. The air between them tightened. Tsunade was not Hiruzen. She did not carry authority like old paper and regret. She was forceful, wounded, brilliant, stubborn, and angry in a way Naruto recognized as useful. Her chakra surged. Naruto's Kai answered with a calm pressure that made the windows hum. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. Then, instead of attacking, she smiled. "You're a nightmare." Naruto inclined his head slightly. "And you are late." From that day onward, Tsunade became one of the few adults Naruto listened to without immediate contempt, not because she controlled him. No one controlled him. Because she was competent under Tsunade, Konoha healed faster than expected. Hospitals improved. Mission review boards became stricter. Corrupt payment chains were cut out. Civilian disaster shelters were upgraded. Naruto sent suggestions. Tsunade rejected half, accepted a third, and argued over the rest. Their arguments became famous inside the Hokage Tower. Tsunade called him an arrogant little tyrant. Naruto called her an emotionally reactive administrator with excellent medical instincts. Jiraiya called it bonding. Both threatened him. Team 7 had changed too. Sakura trained under Tsunade and became more dangerous every month. Naruto revised her classification again. Potentially useful became actively useful. She hated when he said that. Sasuke grew sharper, colder, and more restless. Orochimaru had never branded him with the cursed seal, but the absence of that mark did not remove the wound inside him. If anything, Naruto's presence made it worse. Sasuke watched Naruto end problems that made Jonin hesitate. He watched cage-level figures speak carefully around him. He watched power exist without begging, without desperation, without the filthy hunger Orochimaru had offered in the original path. And Sasuke hated him for it, not simply because Naruto was stronger, because Naruto did not seem to need strength the way Sasuke did. That was unbearable. Their first serious fight after the invasion happened on the hospital roof. The setting was familiar. The meaning was not. Sasuke challenged him after a mission debrief, eyes burning, voice low. "Fight me." Naruto looked at him. "No." Sasuke's hand tightened. "Stop refusing." "I am not refusing. I am declining waste." Sasuke's Sharingan spun red. "You think I'm not worth it?" Naruto was silent for a moment. That silence hurt Sasuke more than any insult. Then Naruto said, "You are worth more alive and improving than broken for the satisfaction of a tantrum." Sasuke moved, fast, much faster than he had been during the Chunin exams. Lightning flickered around his hand. Not a full Chidori, but close enough to scar stone. Naruto turned aside, letting the strike pass his shoulder by a hair. The rooftop cracked. Sakura shouted from the doorway. "Sasuke!" He ignored her. Naruto lifted 2 fingers and touched Sasuke's wrist. The lightning vanished, not dispersed. obeyed into silence. Sasuke froze. Naruto's voice was quiet. "You are not angry because I am stronger." Sasuke's breathing shook. "You are angry because even if you become stronger, you do not know what you will be afterward." That landed too deep. Sasuke's fist swung before thought. Naruto allowed it to strike his cheek. The sound was small. Sakura gasped. Sasuke stared. Naruto's head had barely moved, but he had allowed contact. Why? Naruto looked back at him. "There," he said. "You have struck me. Did it restore your clan?" Sasuke's face twisted. For 1 second, Sakura thought he might break. Instead, he turned and walked away. Naruto watched him go. Inside him, Frieza's echo spoke with boredom. "You should have crushed his pride properly." Naruto touched his cheek where the punch had landed. "No, he will betray you eventually." "Yes." "And you allow it." Naruto's eyes followed Sasuke's retreating form. "Some refusals are more useful than obedience." Frieza's echo went quiet. It disliked that thought, because it was not imperial, it was human. Sasuke left Konoha 6 months later, not for Orochimaru, not completely. He vanished after receiving intelligence that Itachi had been seen near the border of the Land of Rain. He left no dramatic farewell. No knocked out Sakura on a bench. No sound 4 escort, only an empty room, a missing weapons kit, and a note addressed to no one. "I will not become one of his pieces." Naruto read the note once, then he placed it in his file. Kakashi found him on the training ground that evening. "You're not going after him." Naruto looked toward the forest. Sasuke does not need rescue. Kakashi's visible eye was tired. He's alone. "No," Naruto said. "He is in opposition. There is a difference. You sound like you expected this." "I did." "That doesn't bother you." Naruto's answer came too late. "No." Kakashi heard the delay. He said nothing. Far away, Sasuke crossed borders with revenge in his chest and Naruto's shadow at his back, refusing to bow to either. That refusal would matter later. The Akatsuki noticed the pattern before the cage admitted it. They were hunters of tailed beasts, but Naruto did not behave like prey. Every Jinchuriki had tells. Chakra leaks, emotional instability, village restrictions, political vulnerabilities. The Akatsuki had spent years collecting intelligence on containers and beasts. Naruto broke the model. Itachi Uchiha delivered the first serious assessment in a hidden chamber beneath Aimgakure. Rain fell endlessly above them, drumming against metal and stone. Holographic projections flickered in the darkness. Pain stood at the center, Rinnegan calm and unreadable. Konan waited beside him like folded paper given human shape. Kasama leaned against Samehada, grinning. "So," Kasama said, "the Nine-Tails Kid is making noise." Itachi's projection remained still. "He is not the Nine-Tails Kid," Deidara scoffed. "Yeah, then what is he, Chem?" Itachi's eyes did not shift. "He is not a Jinchuriki in any useful sense." Pain's gaze sharpened. "Explain." Itachi was quiet for a moment. "I observed him during an operation in the Land of Rivers. He detected me before I entered visual range." Kasama laughed. "That's cute." He then sent a beam of compressed energy through 3 layers of rock, the sword of a missing Nin commander, and a storage seal without disturbing the document beneath it. Kasama stopped laughing. Deidara leaned forward. "That sounds like art." "No," Sasori said dryly. "That sounds like precision." Itachi continued. "His energy does not resemble Biju Chakra. It is denser, cleaner, and personally directed. The Nine-Tails is present but suppressed." Pain's expression did not change, but the room felt colder. A suppressed tailed beast. "Yes." Konan's eyes narrowed. "By what?" Itachi paused. "By him." Silence settled. Then Kasama's grin returned, slower this time. "That's interesting." Itachi looked toward Pain. "He is not a container. He does not contain the beast. He is the dominant force." Pain spoke softly. "All power can be made to understand pain." Itachi did not disagree. But he did say, "This one may answer." Pain decided to meet Naruto himself, not because the Akatsuki needed to capture him immediately, because something in Itachi's report had irritated him. Pain believed in order through suffering. He believed the world was trapped in cycles of violence because people forgot pain too quickly. He believed only overwhelming force could teach nations humility. Then Naruto Uzumaki began forcing wars not to happen, not through shared pain, through administrative inevitability. Pain could not ignore that. The meeting took place in the land of rain. Naruto arrived alone, not secretly. He simply walked through the border and allowed every sensor in AIM to feel him coming. Rain fell around him but did not touch his skin. Each drop curved away at the last moment, redirected by the faint pressure field surrounding his body. The 6 paths of pain waited on a broken platform above the city. Conan stood behind them. Naruto looked around at the towers, pipes, flooded streets, and hidden civilians. A nation built vertically because the ground never dries, he said. Inefficient but understandable, the Diva Path stared at him. You entered my village without permission. Naruto looked at him. Yes. Why? You wanted a conversation. Pain's Rinnegan did not blink. I sent no invitation. You sent curiosity. Conan's paper shifted slightly. Pain studied him. Naruto's body was still human. Blonde hair, calm face, violet eyes, Konoha symbol on his arm, not head, but the pressure around him made the rain hesitate. You are Naruto Uzumaki, Pain said. Yes. The 9 tails Jinchuriki. No, one of the other paths tilted its head. Pain's voice remained even. You deny your nature. I deny your vocabulary. Conan's eyes narrowed. Pain stepped forward. This world is built on suffering. Small nations are crushed between great powers. Children die for flags they do not understand. Villages sell violence and call it duty. Peace fails because humanity cannot understand one another without pain. Naruto listened genuinely. That surprised Conan. Most enemies interrupted, mocked, raged, defended their village. Naruto did none of those things. He stood in the rainless space around himself and listened like a judge allowing testimony. Pain continued. I will create a weapon great enough to make all nations fear war. Shared terror will birth temporary peace. In that pause, they will learn. Naruto was silent. Then he said, Your diagnosis is partially correct. Pain's gaze sharpened. But your treatment is primitive. The rain seemed louder. Naruto folded his hands behind his back. You believe pain creates understanding because pain created yours. This is emotional projection disguised as philosophy. Conan's paper lifted sharply. Pain did not move. Naruto continued. You are correct that villages perpetuate war, correct that small nations suffer under great powers, correct that fear can interrupt conflict, but you mistake interruption for governance. Pain's voice lowered. Fear is necessary. Yes, Naruto said. But fear without structure decays into rebellion, mythology, and arms races. You would traumatize the world, wait for memory to fade, then repeat the process. That is not peace, that is scheduled disaster. The 6 paths remained still. Naruto looked over Aimgakure. You built a hidden village out of grief and surveillance. You call yourself God because godhood gives your pain architecture, but gods who only punish become weather. Feared, endured, eventually predicted. Pain's expression did not change, but Conan saw it, a flicker, not doubt, recognition. Pain said, and you would do better. Yes, no hesitation, no humility, no apology. Pain's voice sharpened through conquest, through consolidation, a prettier word, a more accurate one. Naruto's violet eyes brightened faintly. The 5 great nations are redundant military economies competing for prestige. Their borders preserve historic ego, not practical necessity. Their cage are local administrators with inflated ceremonial value. Their daimyo fund conflict because conflict maintains political leverage. Remove the fragmentation, standardize law, control military deployment, centralize resource distribution, and war becomes not immoral but obsolete. Conan stared at him. Pain was silent for a long time, then he asked, And those who resist? Naruto looked back at him. They will be given a clear explanation, a reasonable transition period, and one warning. The animal path spoke for the first time. And after the warning, Naruto's pressure rose, only slightly. The rain across the entire platform froze midair for one breath. Then they become examples of poor judgment. The six paths attacked, not in rage, in test. Summons erupted across the platform, missiles fired. Absorption seals opened, blades flashed, gravity twisted. Naruto did not transform fully, he did not need to. He moved through the six paths like a correction moving through a document. A pressure pulse redirected missiles into the sky. A finger beam pierced the summoning receiver without harming the creature attached to it, causing the beast to vanish. The Preta path tried absorbing his energy. Naruto allowed it for half a second. Then the path's arm cracked from the inside as the Kai refused to behave like chakra. "Do not drink poison because it looks like water," Naruto said. The Diva path used Shinra Tensei. The platform exploded outward. Konan shielded herself with paper wings. When the dust cleared, Naruto stood in the same place. His clothes were untouched, his expression mildly disappointed. Pain stared. Naruto raised one hand. Every black receiver in all six bodies vibrated at once. The paths froze. He could have destroyed them. Instead, he released them. The bodies dropped to one knee, not damaged beyond repair, but disabled. Konan moved between them and Naruto, paper blades forming. Naruto looked at her. "I am not here to kill him." "Then why come?" "To determine whether his organization is waste or potential." Pain's Diva path slowly lifted its head. "You would make Akatsuki serve you?" "No," Naruto said. "I would give its purpose a structure that does not depend on theatrical suffering." Pain's eyes remained fixed on him. "You speak as if the world is already yours." Naruto turned toward the rain-covered city. "No." His voice was calm. "I speak as if no one else has made a convincing claim." That meeting changed Akatsuki, not openly, not immediately. Pain did not kneel. Konan did not swear loyalty. The rings did not change hands. But the organization's priorities shifted. Some members resisted. Deidara wanted to test Naruto's artistic worth. Sasori wanted to study his body. Kasama wanted to fight him. Hidden wanted to curse him. Kakuzu wanted to know whether anyone had placed a bounty on him. Itachi said nothing. Pain did not order Naruto captured. That silence was an answer. From that point onward, Akatsuki stopped hunting Naruto and began watching the world he was building. The cage noticed too late. An emergency summit was called in neutral territory. Not the later five-cage summit of legend, but a quieter gathering arranged under panic and pride. Representatives from all five nations arrived with guards, sensors, sealed communications, and enough suspicion to poison the air. The Reikage wanted direct action. The Tsuchikage wanted containment. The Mizukage wanted intelligence first. The Kazekage, still dealing with the aftermath of Gaara's collapse and recovery, wanted no open conflict with Naruto. Tsunade wanted everyone to stop pretending they had not caused the problem. The room was tense before the meeting began. Then a letter appeared on the table. No smoke, no messenger, no seal flare. One moment the polished wood was empty, the next, the letter rested exactly in the center. Every guard drew a weapon. Tsunade closed her eyes. Of course. The Reikage slammed his fist onto the table. "How did that get in here?" Anoki floated slightly higher, eyes narrowed. Mei Terumi looked more curious than afraid. Tsunade picked up the letter. It was addressed simply to the regional authorities currently discussing me. She read aloud. "You are meeting to discuss me. I appreciate the efficiency. I have a counter-proposal." The Reikage growled. Tsunade continued anyway. The letter was not a threat. That made it worse. It was a plan. A complete administrative restructuring of the shinobi world, unified mission pricing to prevent economic sabotage, centralized missing nin registry, daimyo oversight reduction, medic nin exchange programs, border demilitarization in phases, a joint infrastructure authority for roads, bridges, and food distribution, standardized orphan care to prevent the production of unstable military assets, strict limits on child deployment, abolition of secret Jinchuriki weaponization, creation of a planetary defense structure in case of threats beyond the continent. The last line read, "Your current system has survived by accident and nostalgia. I offer replacement before collapse becomes inconvenient." The room was silent when Tsunade finished. Then the Reikage stood. This is surrender written with polite grammar. Anoki's mouth tightened. It is also better organized than half the proposals we have made in 50 years. The Reikage rounded on him. You would consider this? I consider everything before I decide whether to destroy it. May tapped one finger against the table. Where is he? Tsunade folded the letter, close enough to hear whether we say something stupid. No one laughed. They were right not to. Naruto stood several miles away on a mountain ridge overlooking the summit site. Kakashi stood beside him. You know, Kakashi said, most people send ambassadors. Most people lack credibility. You sent a restructuring plan to 5 Cage. Yes, that is not diplomacy. That is homework with consequences. Naruto looked toward the summit building. Diplomacy is often homework with prettier clothing. Kakashi sighed. You understand they may unite against you? They should. Kakashi looked at him. Naruto's expression was unreadable. If they cannot coordinate resistance against a single obvious pressure, they are unfit to govern separately. That sounds like you're testing them. I am. And if they pass, then they will have proven the first premise of my proposal. Kakashi was quiet. Sometimes he still saw the boy from the Bell test. Cold, brilliant, unkind. Other times he saw something else. A lonely child building a world too large for anyone to leave him alone in it. That thought disturbed him more than the power. You know, Kakashi said softly, people aren't systems. Naruto did not look at him. No, they are why systems matter. Kakashi's eye widened slightly. Naruto continued, poor systems require people to become exceptional merely to survive. That is inefficient and cruel. Kakashi thought of Obito, Rin, Minato, Hiruzen, Sasuke, Naruto. He had no answer. The summit ended without agreement. Officially. Unofficially, every Cage returned home with Naruto's proposal copied and sealed in their highest security archives. And then the god tree roots were discovered. Not by accident. Naruto found them beneath an ancient battlefield in the land of Earth, buried under layers of myth, stone, and old chakra residue. He had been studying energy patterns since the invasion, following inconsistencies across temple ruins, tailed beast legends, and pre-village records. The god tree was not awake, not fully, but its roots remained beneath the continent like veins from an ancient body. The shinobi world had built its entire history on chakra without understanding the original infrastructure beneath their feet. Naruto stood in the underground chamber with only 3 people present. Kakashi, Tsunade, Jiraiya. Tsunade stared at the massive root structure pulsing faintly with old power. What the hell is this? Jiraiya was pale. Something from before the sage. Kakashi's Sharingan ached just looking at it. Naruto walked closer. The root reacted to him, not like chakra to chakra, like a dormant machine recognizing a superior energy source. Frieza's echo stirred with intense interest. Now this is useful. Kurama snarled from inside the seal. The Biju knew this presence in their bones. The tree was origin and violation, mother and prison, hunger wearing divinity. Naruto placed his hand against the root. Purple Kai spread across the surface in thin lines. Tsunade stepped forward. Naruto, I know. You don't know anything until you step away from the ancient glowing tree root. He almost smiled, almost. The root pulsed. Information passed through contact, not words, structure. The tree was not merely a plant. It was a planetary extractor. A chakra engine. A system that could gather, refine, store, and redistribute life energy on a scale beyond any village. Kaguya had treated it as divinity. Madara would have treated it as a dream machine. Naruto saw something else. A battery. A planetary budget. He removed his hand. Tsunade saw his expression and immediately disliked it. No, Naruto looked at her. You do not know what I am considering. I know that face. That is your I found something terrifying and decided it needs paperwork face. Jiraiya barked a laugh despite himself. Kakashi did not. Naruto looked back at the root. This power source predates the current order. It can be converted. Jiraiya's expression darkened. Into what? Stability. Tsunade crossed her arms. Try again without sounding like a villain. Naruto's eyes remained on the route, energy distribution, agricultural restoration, medical reserves, barrier networks, disaster prevention. If properly controlled, no minor nation starves because a trade route collapses. No village hoards healing capacity while civilians die across a border. No tailed beast needs to be sealed into a child because centralized defense would make the practice obsolete. That silenced them, because it was horrifying and beautiful, and exactly the kind of idea Naruto would produce. Tsunade's voice softened slightly. And who controls it? Naruto turned. Someone capable. Jiraiya shook his head. That answer is how wars start. No, Naruto said. Wars start when many incapable people each control enough power to be dangerous and not enough to be decisive. Kakashi spoke quietly. And if you become incapable, Naruto looked at him. The question hung there. For once, Naruto did not answer immediately. Inside him, Frieza's echo whispered. You will not. Kurama growled. That is what every monster thinks. Naruto heard both. Then he said, Then someone must be strong enough to stop me. Tsunade stared at him. Who? Naruto's gaze shifted toward the distant surface, toward a world where Sasuke Uchiha walked alone and refused to bow. An unresolved variable. The conversion began in secret, not full extraction. Naruto was not foolish enough to awaken what he did not fully understand. He studied the roots, learned their rhythm, and began creating controlled channels that pulled trace chakra residue into Kai compression arrays of his own design. The first results were small. A farming district in Fire Country recovered from drought without anyone knowing why. A plague outbreak near the wind border received medical chakra reserves before Sand could request aid. A collapsed bridge in rain was rebuilt using materials purchased through accounts that did not officially exist. Pain noticed. So did Conan, so did Itachi, so did the cage. The world was being repaired without permission. That frightened rulers more than destruction. Destruction could be condemned. Repair demanded comparison, and comparison made existing authority look lazy. Resistance formed naturally, not from the innocent, from those who profited from disorder. Corrupt nobles, missing nin networks, war contractors, daimyo advisors, black market mission brokers, clan hardliners, people who understood that Naruto's order would not merely defeat them, it would make them unnecessary. They hired assassins, none returned, they spread rumors. Naruto corrected them with evidence. They tried to frame Konoha. Naruto released financial records proving the plot before the accusation reached the public. They attempted to kidnap civilians close to him. That was the first time Naruto used Form 4 outside Konoha. The incident took place in a border town where a group of mercenaries captured a medical team Sakura was supervising. They believed Naruto valued Sakura because she was Team 7. They were correct. They believed that value made her a weakness. They were wrong. Naruto arrived at dusk. The mercenary leader stepped out with a kunai near Sakura's throat, smiling with false confidence. Take one more step, and Naruto transformed. Form 4 was not like Form 2. There was no dramatic swelling of muscle, no beastly roar, no loss of control. It was the opposite. Naruto became still. Perfectly still. His features sharpened into a colder elegance. Violet bio-armor like markings formed along his arms and shoulders, faint but unmistakable. His eyes deepened from pale violet to imperial purple. The air around him did not shake, it submitted. Every person in the camp dropped to the ground, not from injury, from certainty. Their bodies understood before their minds did. They were in the presence of something that could end them without anger. Naruto walked forward. The kunai fell from the leader's hand. Sakura stared at him. She had seen him powerful before. This was different. This was not Naruto using power. This was power wearing Naruto's face. He stopped before the mercenary leader. You threatened a medic. The man could not speak. Naruto's voice remained calm. Medics are infrastructure. A pressure pulse moved through the camp. Weapons cracked, locks opened, prisoners were freed, no one died. That was the mercy no one forgot. That was the punishment. Afterwards, Sakura confronted him while the medical team evacuated. You scared them half to death. Yes, you scared me too. Naruto looked at her. That landed differently. Sakura's fists clenched. I'm not saying you were wrong to save us, but when you changed, it felt like you were far away. Naruto's expression did not shift. I was in control. That's not what I asked. He looked away. Sakura stepped closer. You keep calling people useful, infrastructure, assets, variables, but you came because it was me. Naruto said nothing. Sakura's voice softened. You can pretend that's strategy, but I know you better than that now. Inside him, Frieza's echo hissed. She presumes too much. Naruto looked back at Sakura. You are a valuable medic. Sakura smiled sadly. You're such an idiot. Few people could say that to Naruto Uzumaki and continue standing comfortably. Sakura could. That bothered him. The 5 great nations signed the treaty 8 months later, not all at once. Not with celebration. The process was ugly, bitter, and full of attempted sabotage. The Raikage agreed only after Naruto personally prevented a rogue lightning faction from starting a war with Earth. The Tsuchikage agreed after realizing Naruto had already stabilized 3 border regions more effectively than decades of military pressure. The Mizukage agreed after Naruto exposed and dismantled the last major remnants of bloodline purge networks in Water Country. The Kazekage agreed first. Gaara, now far more stable after Naruto's earlier intervention and his own painful recovery, signed with quiet certainty. I know what it means, Gaara said, standing across from Naruto in the Sand Council chamber, to be treated as a weapon by people who call it necessity. Naruto studied him. And now, Gaara's pale eyes were tired but clear. Now I want my village to stop making children like us. For once, Naruto did not correct the word us. He simply accepted the signature. Konoha signed through Tsunade last, but only because Tsunade insisted on reviewing every clause personally. She stabbed the document with a pen hard enough to dent the desk. I hate this. Naruto stood opposite her. You signed. I can hate correct things. Clearly, she glared. You are not a king, brat. No, do not get clever with me. Naruto's mouth almost curved. Tsunade leaned back, suddenly serious. This treaty gives you enormous influence. Yes, it also paints a target on you larger than the Hokage monument. Yes. You really think you can hold the world together? Naruto looked out the window at Konoha. Children crossed the street below. A rebuilt hospital stood beyond them. Farther out, new roads connected districts that had once been neglected. I think, Naruto said, the world has mistaken repeated failure for wisdom because no one survived long enough to impose a better model. Tsunade was quiet. Then she asked, and what happens when people want freedom more than your peace? Naruto's answer was soft. Then I will have to learn the difference. Tsunade studied him. That was the first answer he had given her that sounded uncertain. It gave her hope and fear. The signing ceremony took place in a newly built neutral capital at the center of the continent. Naruto had refused to name it after himself. The committee proposed unity. He rejected it as sentimental. They proposed New Dawn. He rejected it as embarrassing. Finally, someone suggested Meridian. Naruto accepted. A center point, he said. Not poetry. Representatives from every major nation attended. The treaty created the Shinobi Continental Accord, though most people immediately called it the Uzumaki Treaty. Naruto disliked that. History ignored his preference. Pain attended as an observer, not openly as Akatsuki's leader, but present. Konan stood beside him. Itachi watched from a rooftop, unseen by almost everyone. Kasame was nearby, mostly because he wanted to see whether someone tried something stupid. Someone did. A coalition of hardliner shinobi from 3 nations launched an attack during the signing. Explosive tags, hidden blades, poison mist, assassination formations. A final attempt to prove the old world still had teeth. Naruto did not move from the treaty platform. He raised one hand. The entire attack stopped. Explosive tags froze mid-burn. Kunai hung in the air. Poison mist condensed into harmless liquid and fell like rain. Attackers found themselves lifted from the ground, suspended in invisible pressure, unable to move. Naruto looked at the gathered leaders. This, he said, is why the treaty is necessary. No one argued. The attackers were not executed. They were tried publicly. Evidence was presented, networks exposed, funding traced, sentences assigned. That mattered more than killing them would have. The old world had expected wrath. Naruto gave it procedure. Procedure was harder to romanticize. By the end of the year, wars stopped, not conflict. Conflict remained. Humans argued, clans maneuvered. Nobles complained. Shinobi resented oversight. Missing nins still existed. Pain did not vanish. Orochimaru still moved in hidden places. Sasuke remained beyond any treaty, but wars stopped. Roads opened. Medical exchanges began. Food distribution improved. Child deployment rates dropped sharply. Jinchuriki programs were placed under continental review. For the first time in generations, small nations received protection that did not depend on begging a great village for mercy. People began calling Naruto many things: administrator, tyrant, savior, monster, emperor. He accepted only one official title: planetary administrator. Tsunade laughed in his face when she first heard it. "You made that up." "Yes, it sounds ridiculous. It is accurate. It sounds like something a villain puts on a plaque." Naruto considered that, then said, "The plaque is optional. Jiraiya loved it. Kakashi refused to use it. Sakura called him Your Administrative Majesty whenever she wanted to annoy him. Hinata never called him anything but Naruto. That became important. She had changed too, not loudly, not dramatically. Hinata grew stronger in the quiet way of water wearing down stone. The Hyuga clan could not ignore her after Neji's defeat, and Naruto's rise forced them to confront the weakness of their own fatalism. She trained, spoke more clearly, and began working with medical outreach teams in newly protected regions. Naruto saw her often now, always near people. Children, especially. She had a way of lowering herself to their height when speaking, as if power meant nothing if it made someone small feel smaller. Naruto found this inefficient. Then he found it difficult to dismiss. One evening in Meridian, after the treaty had been signed and the delegations had retreated to argue over implementation details, Naruto stood alone on a balcony overlooking the new city. Hinata approached quietly. He knew she was there before she spoke. "You look tired," she said. "I am not." She stood beside him, hands folded. "Then you look alone." Naruto's eyes shifted toward her. Most people would have flinched. Hinata did not. She was still nervous. He could hear it in her breathing, but she stayed. "You should choose your words carefully," Naruto said. "I did." That surprised him. Below, workers carried lanterns through unfinished streets. Shinobi from different villages patrolled together awkwardly, distrustful but not fighting. Hinata looked down at them. "People are safer now." "Yes, that matters." "Yes." She turned toward him. "But are they free?" Naruto did not answer. There it was again. Freedom, that word Tsunade had used, that word Sasuke had embodied by leaving, that word rulers hated because it refused clean definitions. Hinata's voice was soft. "I don't think peace is wrong. I don't think what you're doing is wrong. But sometimes, when people talk about you, they sound grateful and afraid at the same time. They should be both." "Yes." Hinata looked sad. Naruto disliked that expression on her, not because it was weak, because it made something inside him feel accused. She stepped closer. "Naruto, when you stopped Gaara, I saw your face." His eyes narrowed slightly. "You were present." "I was in the medical stands." He remembered now. A pale-eyed girl across the arena, concerned, always concerned. Hinata continued. "You looked at him like you understood exactly what had been done to him, not like a weapon, not like a beast, like a person who had been hurt." Naruto looked away. "That interpretation is sentimental. Maybe it is inaccurate." "I don't think so." Inside him, Frieza's echo stirred coldly. "This girl sees too much for someone so timid." Naruto agreed. That was the problem. Hinata looked out at the city again. "I'm glad fewer children will suffer." Naruto said nothing. Then she added, "But I hope you remember that saving people and owning them are not the same thing." The words entered quietly, they stayed violently. Naruto turned his gaze on her fully. The balcony air tightened. Hinata's fingers trembled, but she did not step back. For 1 second, Frieza's echo rose in irritation, urging dismissal, pressure, correction. Naruto did none of it. He let the air settle. "I do not own them," he said. Hinata looked at him. "Not yet." Silence. Then she bowed gently and left. Naruto remained on the balcony long after she was gone. Below him, Meridian glowed, a center point, a beginning, a world becoming organized under his hand. Wars had stopped. Children were safer. Food moved, medicine moved, weapons were counted, borders softened, systems improved. He had been right. And yet, somewhere beyond the treaty maps, Sasuke Uchiha walked alone, refusing to sign. Somewhere beneath the world, god tree roots pulsed with power he had only begun to understand. Somewhere in the shadows, Orochimaru studied the memory of kneeling. Somewhere in the rain, pain reconsidered godhood. And inside Naruto, beneath Frieza's cold approval and Kurama's wary silence, something orange and stubborn remembered Hinata's question. "Are they free?" Naruto lifted his hand. A purple sphere appeared above his palm, perfect, controlled, absolute. Then, without meaning to, he made a smaller light beside it. Orange, faint, warm, not Kai, not chakra exactly, not a weapon, just a flicker. He stared at it. Frieza's echo recoiled with disgust. "What is that?" Naruto closed his fist. Both lights vanished. "I don't know," he said, but he did. Or some part of him did. The empire had begun. The world was quieter. The wars were ending. Naruto Uzumaki had forced history to kneel without burning it down, but peace was not the same as victory, and obedience was not the same as loyalty. The treaty had given him the world's signature. It had not given him its soul. Chapter 6, Golden and Cold Tagline, the last resistance and the choice that defines the Emperor, story phase. Finale peace did not arrive like sunrise, it arrived like a locked door. The wars stopped first, then the border raids. Then the mission markets changed, slowly and painfully, as if the shinobi world itself resented becoming less violent. Assassination contracts became harder to hide. Missing nin routes were mapped. Black market supply chains collapsed under audits sharper than blades. Daimyo courts, once insulated by gold and old names, found their private armies counted, taxed, and restricted. For the first time in living memory, a child in a small border village could go to sleep without hearing adults whisper about which great nation might use their home as a battlefield next. That mattered. No honest person could deny it. And that was what made Naruto Uzumaki terrifying. A tyrant who only destroyed could be hated cleanly. A conqueror who improved roads, fed villages, lowered orphan rates, and stopped wars was harder to name, so the world gave him many names. Planetary administrator, emperor, monster, savior, false god, necessary evil, Naruto accepted none of them fully. Names were tools people used to make power emotionally manageable. He preferred results. Meridian became the center of the new order. It was not as old as Konoha, not as harsh as stone, not as wealthy as cloud, not as hidden as mist, and not as desperate as sand. It had no ancient clan district, no monument to dead cage, no sacred battlefield under its streets. That was intentional. Naruto wanted no ghosts in the foundation. The city expanded in clean rings around the central administrative tower. Roads connected hospitals, storage depots, training fields, communication hubs, and diplomatic quarters. Shinobi from different villages patrolled together under strict rotation. They still distrusted each other. They still argued. Sometimes they fought, but they no longer fought as nations. That was progress. Naruto stood at the top of the Meridian Tower on the morning the first open rebellion was confirmed. The city below was covered in pale dawn light. Kakashi entered quietly behind him. He still moved like a shadow when he wanted to. Years had passed, but Naruto had never stopped noticing the slight difference between Kakashi's lazy posture and his true readiness. "You already know," Kakashi said. "Yes." "Then I'll skip the dramatic report." "Preferred." Kakashi sighed and unfolded the file anyway. A coalition has formed outside the Accord. Missing nin groups, old war contractors, several daimyo funded private cells, Akatsuki remnants who refused Pain's neutrality, and rogue shinobi from all 5 nations. Naruto did not turn. Leadership? Kakashi paused. Sasuke. The air did not change. That bothered Kakashi more than if it had. Naruto looked over the city. Continue. Kakashi's visible eye narrowed slightly. Kabuto is involved. He's using Orochimaru's research and forbidden reanimation techniques. The dead as political theater. Pretty much, Madara. Kakashi's silence answered. Naruto finally turned. Confirmed. Not fully. But every intelligence report points to one thing. Someone wearing the name Uchiha Madara is coordinating the stronger cells, whether it's truly him or not. It will not matter if people believe it. Exactly. Naruto took the file. He scanned it once. The coalition had chosen symbolism well. They called themselves the Free Shinobi Alliance. Predictable. Freedom was the only banner left that could gather people who had no shared future beyond opposing him. Kakashi watched Naruto's face. You expected Sasuke to resist. Yes, you expected this. Not in this exact arrangement. That's almost comforting. Naruto handed the file back. Sasuke would never accept peace written by my hand. Kakashi leaned against the wall because of pride. Because he believes any world I build will eventually leave no room for him unless he kneels. And is he wrong? Naruto did not answer immediately. Kakashi's eyes sharpened. That pause mattered. Finally, Naruto said, he is useful because he refuses. Kakashi's voice softened. People aren't useful because they disagree with you, Naruto. Sometimes they're just hurt. Naruto looked toward the horizon. Those conditions often overlap. Kakashi closed the file. You're going to face him yourself. Yes, you could send forces. I could. You won't. No. Kakashi studied him for a long moment. You know, for someone who talks like a machine, you make very personal decisions. Naruto's eyes shifted toward him. That observation is unnecessary. Usually means it's true. Kakashi left soon after. Naruto remained at the window. Below, Meridian moved with the rhythm of a living system. Food carts opened. Patrol shifts changed. Children crossed a bridge in neat lines toward a school that accepted students from every former great nation. A sand medic argued with a leaf engineer. A cloud courier sprinted across rooftops with a sealed packet. Life continued because systems held it up. Naruto had built that. He had corrected the world's most obvious failures. And still, rebellion came inside him. Frieza's echo stirred with old amusement. Gratitude is temporary. Fear endures. Naruto's face remained still. Fear also breeds coalitions. Then destroy the coalition. I intend to. Completely, Naruto said nothing. Deep within the seal, Kurama laughed low and bitter. Listen to him, brat. That's where you're going. One problem at a time until there's nothing left but your voice echoing in an empty room. Frieza's presence turned cold. Beast, you mistake loneliness for failure. Kurama snarled. No, I know cages. He's building one big enough to call peace. Naruto closed his eyes. The two monsters fell silent. Not because they agreed. Because Naruto had learned how to make his own mind quiet, mostly. The coalition made its first public strike 3 days later, not against Meridian, against a supply route carrying medicine to 3 small nations. A symbolic choice. They wanted to show that Naruto's peace could not protect the vulnerable. They failed. Naruto arrived before the first crate burned. The attackers saw him land on the road without dust, without drama, without even the courtesy of anger. 37 shinobi stood against him, former Leaf, former Stone, former Mist, some missing Nin, some young enough to have grown up during the peace they now claimed to reject. Their leader stepped forward, mask painted with the word freedom. You can't rule everyone forever. Naruto looked at the medical crates, then at the attackers. You chose medicine as a target. The leader raised his blade. You made the world dependent on your system. We're showing them how fragile it is. No, Naruto said. You are showing me that your ideology permits children to die so long as you can blame me afterward. The leader hesitated. Only for a breath. Naruto raised one hand. The weapons shattered, all of them. Blades, chains, kunai, senbon launchers, hidden mechanisms, every piece of metal designed to kill cracked into harmless fragments and fell into the road like rain. The attackers froze. Naruto's voice remained calm. You may oppose me, you may criticize the accord, you may gather, speak, organize, petition, and refuse ceremonial allegiance. But if you touch medicine, food, or children again, I will remove your ability to participate in history. No one moved. The leader, shaking with humiliation, tried to form a hand sign. Naruto looked at him, just looked. The man collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Naruto turned to the supply drivers. Continue. The convoy moved. The story spread faster than any official announcement. Support for the coalition weakened in civilian territories. Among shinobi, it hardened. Many warriors could tolerate losing power. Fewer could tolerate being made irrelevant without a proper battle. So Sasuke gave them one. The battlefield was chosen carefully, the Valley of the End. Naruto understood the message immediately. Hashirama and Madara had once fought there, two founders shaping the future with violence so grand the world turned it into mythology. Their statues still faced each other across the waterfall, enormous stone hands forming the seal of confrontation. Sasuke had chosen that place to say one thing: this was not rebellion, this was succession. Naruto arrived alone at dusk. The sky was red, water thundered below. On Madara's statue stood Sasuke Uchiha, black cloak moving in the wind, sword at his hip, Sharingan burning red. He was taller now. Leaner, his face sharper. Not a boy chasing revenge anymore, but not healed either. Some wounds did not close, they became architecture. Naruto stood atop Hashirama's statue. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Sasuke said, "You came." Naruto looked across the valley. "You invited me." "I challenged you." "Yes." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "You always do that." "What?" "Make everything smaller." Naruto tilted his head. Sasuke's voice sharpened. "You call war inefficiency. You call loyalty infrastructure. You call people variables. You call rebellion poor judgment. You rename everything until it fits inside your head." Naruto was silent. Sasuke stepped forward. "You built a peaceful world. Congratulations." The word was poison. Children aren't dying in border wars. Villages aren't starving. Cage bow over paperwork instead of corpses. Everyone praises you because the cage is clean. Naruto's eyes cooled. "It is not a cage." "Then why does everyone look at the sky before they speak?" The waterfall roared. Sasuke's Susanoo ribs flickered faintly around him, violet and unstable. "You think fear is acceptable because the outcome is better." "Yes. That's the difference between us." Naruto studied him. "You believe fear is never acceptable?" Sasuke's mouth twisted. "No, I believe if the world fears me, at least I won't pretend it's freedom." Inside Naruto, Frieza's echo chuckled. "There, the boy has teeth." Naruto ignored him. "You have gathered murderers, profiteers, and ghosts under a noble word." "I gathered everyone your peace made unnecessary. Some people should be unnecessary." Sasuke's chakra flared. "And who decides that?" Naruto answered softly, "The one who can enforce the decision." Sasuke smiled. It was not happy. "There you are." Then he attacked. The first exchange split the waterfall. Sasuke's speed had become extraordinary. He moved with lightning wrapped around his blade, Sharingan tracking every shift in Naruto's posture. Chidori variants cut through stone. Fire jutsu turned mist into steam. Genjutsu flashed through eye contact like blades aimed at the mind. Naruto walked through all of it, not carelessly. Sasuke was too skilled for that. Naruto redirected lightning with pressure fields. Cut fire apart with finger-thin beams. Refused genjutsu by letting his kai flare through his nervous system like a white-hot command. Sasuke adapted. That was the beauty of him. He did not break against superiority. He sharpened. His Susanoo formed fully around him, skeletal first, then armored, massive, and burning violet blue against the darkening sky. An arrow formed in its hand and launched with enough force to carve a canyon through the valley wall. Naruto lifted his palm. The arrow stopped inches from his face. For a second, Sasuke strained. Then Naruto closed his hand. The arrow shattered. Sasuke landed on the water, breathing hard. Naruto remained above him. "You have improved," Sasuke laughed. "Don't you dare sound proud of me. I am assessing you. You're hiding." Naruto's gaze sharpened. Sasuke pointed his sword at him. "You're still in that controlled little form, still measuring, still holding yourself like this is a meeting." Naruto said nothing. Sasuke's Mangekyo spun. Black flames erupted across the stone beneath Naruto, Amaterasu. The fire clung to everything. Naruto looked down at it, then the air around him compressed. The black flames folded inward, crushed into a sphere, then vanished in a pulse of purple light. Sasuke's eyes widened despite himself. Naruto descended to the water. "I do not need higher forms to defeat you." Sasuke's smile became savage. "I know." The water behind Naruto exploded. A reanimated shinobi emerged from the spray, then another, and another. Former Kage, old war heroes, dead S-rank criminals. The coalition's hidden army revealed itself across the valley cliffs, led by Kabuto, pale and smiling from a protected ridge. Naruto did not turn. "You used yourself as bait," Sasuke's expression darkened. "I used your arrogance as certainty." For the first time, Naruto smiled faintly. "Better." Then the sky split with pressure. A man stepped onto the battlefield from a swirl of dust and old hatred. Long hair, red armor, eyes like history-refusing burial. Madara Uchiha? The true one, reanimated but unmistakable. The battlefield changed around him. Even Sasuke looked toward him with wary tension. Madara surveyed the valley, the reanimated army, Sasuke, then Naruto. His smile was slow. "So you are the child who stole the age before I could reclaim it." Naruto looked at him. "And you are the ghost people keep mistaking for relevance." Madara laughed, a genuine laugh. "Good, the world has grown boring since Hashirama." He stepped forward, chakra rising like a storm. "Show me, boy. Show me the power that made Kage sign papers instead of bleed." The battle that followed became legend, not because it lasted long. Because for a few minutes, the old world threw everything it had left at Naruto Uzumaki. Reanimated Kage unleashed elemental devastation. Stone dragons, lightning storms, water prisons, burning forests, sealing chains, poison mist, and forbidden techniques filled the valley. Naruto entered Form 4. The transformation quieted the battlefield. His body sharpened into its cold imperial state. Purple markings glowed along his skin. His eyes became deep violet, bright enough to reflect in the water below. Pressure rolled outward in a dome. The first wave of attacks died before reaching him. He moved, not fast like a shinobi, direct like a conclusion. A finger beam removed a reanimated body's legs, avoiding the torso so sealing teams hidden in the ridge could immobilize it. A pressure pulse crushed a firestorm flat. A Kai barrier caught a mountain-sized stone fist and turned it to dust. A small sphere of purple light erased a summoned serpent without touching the ground beneath it. Kabuto's smile faded. Madara's widened. Sasuke watched, furious and fascinated. Against Naruto in Form 4, the coalition's world-ending force became weather, loud, dangerous to anyone else, not decisive. Madara entered the battle personally. His Susanoo towered over the valley, a colossal armored warrior with blades large enough to divide armies. Naruto flew upward, surrounded by purple light, and struck the Susanoo's chest with one open palm. The impact did not explode, it rang, like a bell struck at the center of the world. Cracks spread through Madara's Susanoo. Madara's eyes blazed. "Excellent!" Limbo struck. A perfect invisible attack from another plane. Naruto did not dodge. The blow hit him in the chest and sent him skidding backward across the air itself. Pressure tearing lines through the clouds behind him. For 1 second, the battlefield went silent. Naruto looked down at where the strike had landed. His clothing was torn. A faint mark darkened his skin. Madara smiled. Sasuke stared. Kabuto leaned forward. Naruto looked back at Madara, noted. Then he transformed. Golden form did not begin with noise. It began with absence. Every sound in the valley vanished. The waterfall became silent. The wind stopped. Even the reanimated dead seemed to pause, as if the world itself had taken one breath and decided not to release it. Naruto's violet Kai turned white gold. His hair lifted and bleached to pure platinum, each strand glowing like frozen sunlight. The purple markings along his body became molten gold lines, clean and symmetrical, like imperial armor written into flesh. His eyes shifted from violet to amber so bright they looked less like eyes and more like suns seen through glass. The air within 3 kilometers ionized. Stone cracked in concentric circles from the pressure of his existence alone. Birds fell silent in forests miles away. Sensors across the continent screamed and collapsed. In Meridian, Tsunade gripped her desk as every window shattered at once. In Aimgakure, Pain looked up at the rain as it stopped falling. In Konoha, Hinata Hyuga dropped the medical supplies she was carrying and turned toward the horizon. Heart suddenly cold. At the Valley of the End, Madara Uchiha stopped smiling. For the first time, Naruto hovered above the water, gold light spilling from him in slow waves. Frieza's echo did not whisper now, it roared with triumph. Yes, Kurama snarled, but beneath the anger was something else, fear, not of death, of disappearance, because this power did not feel like Naruto using Frieza. It felt like Frieza's nature finally finding a shape large enough to wear. Madara raised his Susanoo blades. Naruto moved. 4 actions ended the war. First, he pointed at the reanimated army. Golden light spread across the battlefield in a web of precise lines, cutting every reanimation's control tag without damaging the bodies. The dead collapsed, freed from Kabuto's command and ready for sealing. Second, he turned toward Kabuto's ridge. A pressure field folded the stone around Kabuto like a cage, immobilizing him without crushing him. Third, Madara attacked with full Susanoo. Naruto struck once, not with a blast. With a single open-handed blow, the perfect Susanoo shattered from chest to crown, fragments of chakra scattering like broken glass in sunlight. Fourth, Sasuke lunged, not because he believed he could win, because he refused to end the battle watching. His Chidori blade screamed with black lightning. His Susanoo formed around him like a final act of pride. His eyes bled. His teeth clenched. He aimed for Naruto's heart. Naruto turned. For one terrible second, everyone saw the outcome. He could erase Sasuke completely. No body, no rebellion. No unresolved variable, no refusal, just peace. Golden light gathered at Naruto's fingertip. Sasuke did not stop. He would rather die moving forward than live kneeling. Naruto fired. The beam passed beside Sasuke's face. It cut through the shoulder of his Susanoo, shattered the lightning around his blade, and carved a line through the valley wall behind him so cleanly, the stone separated without falling for 3 seconds. Sasuke's attack died inches from Naruto. Naruto touched 2 fingers to Sasuke's forehead. A pulse of gold. Sasuke collapsed unconscious into the water. Naruto caught him with pressure and lowered him onto the stone hand of Madara's statue, alive, defeated, unbowed. Madara, half kneeling amid the ruins of his shattered Susanoo, stared at Naruto. "You spared him." Naruto looked down at him. "Yes," Madara laughed, softer now. "Then you are not as cold as you pretend." Naruto's amber eyes brightened, golden pressure pressed Madara into the stone. "I am exactly as cold as necessary." Madara's reanimated body cracked under the force. Still he smiled. "No. Hashirama had warmth and called it peace. I had power and called it truth. You," his eyes narrowed with old amusement, "you are trying to make warmth obey power." Naruto's expression did not change. Madara's body began to crumble as the sealing tags finally reached him. "It will betray you." The seal closed. Madara vanished. The rebellion ended before sunset. No execution field followed. Naruto did not parade the captured through Meridian. Kabuto was imprisoned under layered seals and medical supervision. The rogue shinobi were tried by a tribunal. Those guilty of targeting civilian infrastructure received permanent chakra restrictions and labor sentences, rebuilding what they had tried to destroy. Those who had joined out of fear or ideology were divided, questioned, and processed. Sasuke was not imprisoned. That decision nearly fractured the accord. The Raikage demanded containment. Anoki demanded leverage. Tsunade demanded an explanation and threw a chair when Naruto gave only. He remains necessary. Kakashi understood and hated that he did. Sasuke woke 3 days later in a secure medical room with no chains. Naruto stood by the window. Sasuke's voice was hoarse. "You should have killed me." "Yes." Sasuke stared at him. Naruto looked back. "You would have preferred that." Sasuke tried to sit up. Pain stopped him. "Don't act like mercy makes you better." "It was not mercy." "Then what?" Naruto was silent. Sasuke's laugh was bitter. "You don't even know." Naruto's eyes cooled. "You are the only person who refuses me without needing to lie about why." Sasuke looked away. "I refuse you because you're wrong." "No." Naruto said. "You refuse me because you believe any accepted peace becomes another massacre waiting for permission." Sasuke's jaw tightened. Naruto continued. "That belief is not irrational." Silence. Sasuke looked at him again, this time with something like surprise. Naruto folded his hands behind his back. "You will not sign the accord." "No, you will not attack civilian systems." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "I don't take orders from you. This is not an order. It is the condition under which I continue allowing your opposition to exist." Sasuke smiled faintly. There he is again. Naruto turned to leave. At the door, Sasuke spoke. "Naruto." He stopped. Sasuke's voice was low. "One day, if you cross the line, I'll come for you." Naruto did not turn around. "I know, and I won't miss." Naruto's face remained unreadable. "Good." Then he left. The world called the battle the Golden Suppression. Naruto hated the name. History ignored him again. After the rebellion, the accord became stronger. That was the practical outcome. No major faction remained capable of military resistance. The old war economies were broken. The Cage, though still influential, now functioned as regional governors under the continental structure. Akatsuki dissolved into smaller branches, with Pain and Konan overseeing reconstruction in Rain under strict autonomy terms. Gaara reformed Sans Jinchuriki policies. Tsunade expanded medical infrastructure across borders. Kakashi became one of the few people authorized to challenge Naruto directly in council sessions. Sakura became head of emergency medical deployment. She threatened to poison Naruto's tea if he ever called her infrastructure in public again. He stopped, mostly. Sasuke vanished again, but this time he left a message, still not signing. Naruto kept it. No one knew why peace deepened, and Naruto grew colder, not outwardly. Outwardly, he was controlled as always. He attended sessions, reviewed disputes, intervened rarely but decisively, spoke with Tsunade, Kakashi, Gaara, Pain, and the other regional leaders, listened to Sakura's medical reports, ignored Jiraiya's attempts to write a book about him, but Golden Form had changed something or revealed something. The people closest to him noticed. Kakashi noticed Naruto stopped sleeping for more than 2 hours at a time. Tsunade noticed his temperature dropped when he used Kai. Sakura noticed he no longer flinched at small injuries, even ones he should have felt. Hinata noticed something worse. He smiled less. Not that Naruto had ever smiled often, but there had been moments, almost smiles, tiny cracks, a faint curve when Tsunade insulted him well, a pause when Sakura annoyed him, a look of interest when Sasuke challenged him. After Golden Form, those cracks became rare. The Emperor had won. The boy was becoming harder to find. Hinata came to the throne room at dusk. Naruto disliked the term throne room, but Meridian's central hall had become one no matter what he called it. Delegates entered quietly there. Disputes were settled there. Maps shifted across the floor through projection seals. At the far end stood a raised seat designed by committee and approved while Naruto was away. He had considered destroying it, then decided symbolism could be useful. That was the problem. He now sat on it, not slouched, not relaxed, not proud, simply present. Golden sunlight entered through tall windows, painting the floor in warm lines that did not reach him fully. Hinata walked down the hall alone. The guards did not stop her. No one stopped Hinata anymore. Naruto looked up from the reports. "You are late for the medical council." "I left early." Why, she stopped several steps below the platform to see you. His eyes narrowed faintly. I am visible. No, Hinata said softly. You are present. The hall became very quiet. Naruto set the report aside. Hinata looked at him for a long moment. Then she asked, Are you still in there? The words struck harder than Madara's limbo. Naruto did not move inside him. Frieza's echo rose instantly. Insolence. Kurama went silent, not mocking, not snarling, waiting. Naruto's voice was cold. That question is imprecise. Hinata stepped closer. You know what I mean. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Are you? Pressure touched the hole. The guards at the far doors stiffened. Hinata felt it. Her hands trembled, but she kept walking one step, then another. Naruto, she said, voice shaking but clear. When you fought at the valley, everyone felt it, not just your power. It was like the sky forgot how to be warm. Naruto's expression remained still. The rebellion ended. Yes, and afterward people celebrated. They were safe. The medicine arrived. The roads stayed open. The children went back to school. Then the outcome was acceptable. Hinata reached the base of the platform, but you came back different. He looked away. That was his mistake. Hinata saw it. You know you did. Naruto's fingers curled slightly against the armrest. I used what was necessary. Maybe. There is no maybe. There is always maybe when people are involved. That irritated him, because it sounded like Kakashi, like Tsunade, like Sakura, like every person who insisted that human uncertainty was not failure. Hinata climbed the first step. The pressure increased. Her breath hitched. Still, she continued. Second step, third, the golden light from the windows caught in her pale eyes. You made the world safer, she said. I believe that, I really do. Naruto watched her, but I don't know if you made yourself safer to be around. The sentence should have angered him. Instead, for one moment, he saw himself through her eyes, not emperor, not administrator, not savior. A boy on a rooftop after the academy, staring beyond the village walls. A child in a crib making purple light because no one held him. A genin giving Sakura food and calling it asset management. A teammate letting Sasuke punch him because pain was the only language Sasuke trusted. A ruler holding the world together with pressure and calling the absence of war peace. Hinata reached the top step. The guards looked ready to intervene. Naruto lifted one finger slightly. They stayed back. Hinata stood before him now, close enough that the pressure should have forced her down. It did not, because Naruto, without noticing, had withdrawn it from around her. She saw that too. Her voice softened. When you were younger, everyone looked at you and saw the thing inside you. Naruto's eyes sharpened. Hinata continued. I saw you flinch once. Silence. In the academy yard. A child dropped a cup near you and cried because he thought you would hurt him. You moved back before anyone noticed, not because you were angry, because he was scared of you. Naruto remembered. He had buried it, but he remembered. A little boy crying over spilled water, a step backward, a strange ache. Hinata's eyes filled, but her voice stayed steady. I think that part of you is still there. Inside Naruto, Frieza's echo surged. Weakness, sentiment, remove this influence. Golden Kai flickered faintly around Naruto's hand. Hinata looked at it, then looked back at him. Are you still in there? She asked again. The hole vanished from Naruto's awareness. For 1 second, he stood inside himself. The mindscape was not the sewer-like prison of Canon anymore. It had become something colder. A vast imperial chamber of black stone and purple stars, with Kurama chained behind golden seals and Frieza's shadow seated on a throne that was not fully his. But in the center, small and stubborn, burned an orange flame. Naruto looked at it. It was not large. It was not impressive. It could not crush armies. It could not silence tailed beasts. It could not make cage sign treaties. It was just warmth. The last reflex of a child who had wanted someone to say his name without fear. Frieza's shadow rose. Extinguish it. Kurama, from behind his cage, spoke quietly. Touch it, brat. Naruto stared at the flame. Then, in the throne room, his hand unclenched. The golden flicker vanished, his shoulders lowered by a fraction. Hinata saw the change. Naruto's voice, when it came, was very quiet. I don't know. It was the most honest thing he had said in years. Hinata stepped forward and placed her hand over his. No one in the hall breathed. Naruto looked down at her hand, small, warm, unarmed, trusting him not to close his fist. Something inside him trembled. Not Frieza, not Kurama, him. The Empire did not fall that day. Naruto did not abandon the accord. He did not step down, apologize to the world, or transform into a gentle hero. That would have been too easy. Power did not vanish because one person asked the right question, but something changed. A new rule entered the center of the empire, not written in law, not announced, not voted on, a private rule. When Naruto considered action, he no longer asked only whether it would work. He asked what it would cost him to make it work. That question saved more lives than any treaty. Years later, the shinobi world would remain peaceful, not perfect, never perfect. Clans still argued. Regional leaders still schemed. Sasuke still refused to sign. Children still grew up with ambition, anger, and grief. Pain still prayed in a city of rain and wondered whether godhood had been cowardice. Tsunade still shouted at paperwork. Sakura still threatened anyone who interfered with medical supply routes. Kakashi still read in meetings and somehow heard everything, and Naruto still ruled. That was the uncomfortable truth. He ruled from Meridian, but not like the tyrants history had expected. He intervened less often, delegated more, allowed regional councils to disagree publicly, created procedures by which laws could be challenged, established civilian courts with authority over shinobi misconduct, forced the accord to develop ways of surviving his absence. Tsunade called that growth. Kakashi called it basic responsibility. Sakura called it finally acting like you understand other people exist. Naruto called it structural resilience. Hinata only smiled. But at night, when the city grew quiet and the reports were done, Naruto sometimes stood alone in the old chamber beneath Meridian, where a small piece of god tree root pulsed inside layers of seals. He would lift his hand. Purple light appeared first, perfect, cold, obedient, then gold, absolute, terrible, beautiful. Finally, with effort greater than any transformation had ever required, he would summon the smallest orange flame. It did not burn hot. It did not destroy. It did not dominate anything. It simply existed. Warm and fragile in his palm. Frieza's echo hated it. Kurama watched it in silence. Naruto protected it without knowing how to explain why. One evening, Hinata found him there. She did not ask what he was doing. She only stood beside him, the orange flame reflected in her eyes. Naruto looked at it for a long time, then he closed his fist. This time it did not go out immediately. A little warmth remained between his fingers, not enough to save him, not enough to redeem everything, but enough to prove the Emperor had not consumed the boy completely. Outside, the shinobi world slept without war. Inside, Naruto Uzumaki sat on a throne he had built from fear, logic, grief, and impossible power. He had won. The question was what it cost. End hook. He won. The question is what it cost.